All right, good evening, everyone. We will go ahead and start. We do have a quorum, and I know a few board members are coming on their way, and they're making their way in. So we're going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. Okay, good evening. I will have 1.2, Pledge of Allegiance of the flag of the United States. If I could have Imani Sadradi from Barton Elementary School, sixth grader, has volunteered to come up. Thank you, and she will be doing the pledge.
Put your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. You did a great job. And you're going to be on TV. You can watch it later on at home. Okay, good. Let's go ahead and go to 1.3, adoption of the agenda. Before we adopt the agenda, are there any changes?
No changes, Madam President.
All right, and then we're going to go ahead in 1.4, inspirational message by our very own Dr. Scott White. Oh, we didn't vote on the agenda. I apologize. So can I have a motion? So moved. Second. Okay, let's call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say nay. Okay, motion carried. Now we will go and have the inspirational message by Dr. Scott White.
All righty. Thank you, Madam President. Just a couple short quotes this evening, and along the lines of equity and diversity that I think is something very important in our community as well as our schools. I think we're very well represented in regards to diversity on our board, which is very important, as well as leadership and representing our community. And I had a number of very famous folks that I picked a couple very short quotes from. And the first one is from Cesar Chavez. And I'm sure we're all very familiar with Cesar Chavez. And he says, "We need to help students and parents cherish and preserve the ethnic and cultural diversity that nourishes and strengthens this community and this nation." So, I mean, very short, but to me, very powerful. Next one is from Robert Kennedy. And he says, "Ultimately, America's answer to the intolerant man is diversity." And then the last one is Maya Angelou, who says, "It's time for parents to teach young people early on that diversity there is beauty, and in beauty there is strength." And that is it.
That is meaningful, especially for our district, that we do have so much diverse community. And so thank you for sharing those quotes. We're going to go ahead and go to 2.0, special presentation. 2.1, outstanding student awards. Linda Bardier, you can come up. And please, board, we will move forward. We will go in front of the podium.
Good evening. The Board of Education is pleased to honor students, parents, volunteers, and staff from Ramona Alessandro, Antone, Arrowhead, and Barton Elementary Schools. The board recognizes outstanding students to build self-esteem and honor excellence in academics, athletics, fine arts, citizenship, and most improvement. The board will also recognize outstanding parents, volunteers, and employees. Also, the San Bernardino Symphony provides free concert tickets to all student and parent award winners and their families. And Assembly Member Mark Steinor's office is also presenting certificates to all of our student honorees. As we call each honoree, would you and your family please come forward? You'll enter the award area by Karina Borsic, who's there in the nice red jacket, and you'll come along and shake all of our school board members' hands, and then our superintendent will present you with your award. And teachers, you are also welcome to come forward when your student is announced. First, we have Ramona Alessandro Elementary School and Principal David Juarez. Now, let's welcome fifth grader Jesus Echeverria and his proud parents, Ana, Medina, and Salvador Echeverria. Would Jesus' teacher, Tamara Delaney, also join us? And let's give Jesus a big round of applause. Jesus is an excellent citizen. He is polite and respectful to staff and fellow students. He is also a good student. He completes all homework assignments and takes good notes in class. Jesus says he wants to attend college, but he has not picked a career yet. Let's give him a round of applause. Our next honoree is kindergartner Rogelio Mercado. Rogelio is in Gabrielle Ulrich's class, and will Rogelio bring his proud parents, Maria Edemira Trujillo and Rogelio Mercado, up front to join us. Rogelio is only in kindergarten, and he can already identify his numbers up to 31. He is eager to learn even at this young age. Rogelio has lots of time to decide what career he wants to pursue, but the Alessandro staff thinks he will go far. Let's give him a big round of applause. Our third student honoree is fifth grader Kartavya Singh, who was nominated by teacher Shanna Usher. Will Kartavya's proud parents, Preeta and Randir Singh, please join us? Kartavya is an excellent role model for all of his classmates. He is responsible, he excels academically, he's active, and he has an appreciation for music. Kartavya reads at the 11th grade level and is a creative and innovative writer. He aspires to study physics at MIT. Let's give this fifth grader a big round of applause. In fact, ladies and gentlemen, let's give all of the students from Alessandro a big round of applause. The students will be posing for a group photo in just a moment. And in the meantime, we have more people to honor from Ramona Alessandro. Would Yahaira Platero and her family please join us? Yahaira? Is she with us? Over the past 3 years, Yahaira has served on the School Site Council and the English Learners Advisory Committee. She works to create strong connections between the school and the community. Her support is greatly appreciated. Let's give her another round of applause. Our next honoree is instructional aide Barbara Estrada. Let's welcome Barbara to the front. Barbara Estrada is always willing to support staff and students. She is dedicated to her duties in supporting kindergarten students, and she works collaboratively with classroom teachers. Let's give Barbara a big round of applause. Resource teacher Teresa Hopkins is always finding ways to support students, staff, and parents. Let's welcome her to the front so that she can be honored as the Outstanding Certificated Staff Member. Teresa goes above and beyond in her efforts to obtain the best results possible for everyone. She is a true asset to the Alessandro family. Let's give Ramona Alessandro another big round of applause. The next school we will honor are those who come from Antone Elementary School. So will Principal Margaret Castro please join us? Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our first outstanding student, 5th grader Gonzalo Almunada, and with his proud father, Gonzalo Almunada, and his teacher, Katie Hosking, please come forward. Gonzalo is an outstanding role model for his classmates. He's a great classroom helper, and he is also very reliable. Math is his favorite subject, so it's no surprise that he excels in that area. Gonzalo says he wants to become a police officer after he graduates. I think Chief Polino has something special for Gonzalo. Go on up there, Chief. Let's give this future officer a big round of applause. Our next honoree is Natalie Reynaga Gill, a 3rd grader in Jeanette Watson's class. Would Natalie's proud parents, Juan Carlos and Evelyn Gill, please join us? Natalie is a dream student. She is always polite and kind. She's also a hard worker who always tries her best in the classroom and in the learning center. Natalie says she wants to go to college and become a veterinarian. Let's give her another round of applause. Now we will honor 4th grader Kaziana Williams. Will Kaziana please bring her proud parents, Antoine Williams and Kazia Thompson, forward? We would also like to invite her teacher, Amy Miller. Now, Kaziana is a sweet girl who does her very best every day. She is friendly and kind and has a positive attitude toward learning. Kaziana says she wants to become a police officer someday too. So let's give her a round of applause and invite Chief Polino back up front. Please join me in giving another round of applause for these outstanding students from Antone Elementary School. We would also like to recognize Outstanding Parent Award winner Alicia Ruiz and her family. Will you please join us? Alicia is a dedicated parent and school volunteer. She is an active ELAC and PTO member. She's also very supportive of Antone's programs and initiatives, and the staff truly appreciates her efforts. Thank you, Alicia. We'd now like to honor an outstanding classified employee. Will custodian Spencer Kogut please come forward? Mr. Kogut works hard to keep Antone clean. He takes pride in his work and is willing to stop what he's doing whenever someone needs his help. Spencer also serves as a mentor for some of Antone's students, and he makes sure they know that the Antone school community cares for them. Let's give Mr. Kogut another round of applause. Our outstanding certificated employee from Antone is Anna Marie Calm. Anna Marie Calm is a highly qualified, dedicated, and patient transitional kindergarten teacher. She loves teaching, and it shows. She always has a smile on her face, and she goes the extra mile for students and staff. It's easy for her to keep her calm. Her knowledge, experience, and kindness are an asset at Antone. Let's give her a big round of applause. Our next honorees are from Arrowhead Elementary, so let's invite Principal Tina Murray to please come forward. Arrowhead's first honoree is Dominique Guerra, a fourth grader in James Billick's class. Would Mr. Billick and Dominique's proud parents, Jeanette Caceres and Navarro Guervara, join us? Dominique is an outstanding person. She's empathetic and helpful. She takes her schoolwork seriously and always stays on task and works hard. Dominique says she wants to attend college and study medicine so she can become a doctor and help other people. Let's give her a big round of applause. Will second grader Aaliyah Orozco please join us? We also invite her proud mother, Alimata Jallo, to join us and any other proud family members. Aaliyah's teacher is Rebecca Armenta, and she's welcome to come forward. Aaliyah is an outstanding citizen and positive role model both in and outside the classroom. She believes in herself and knows she can be brave and strong enough to achieve her dream of becoming a police officer. Let's welcome Chief Polino. Aaliyah says in addition to becoming a police officer, she also wants to use her artistic talents and create video games for students. Let's give her a big round of applause. Our next honoree is third grader Michael Padilla. Will he bring his proud mother, Jennifer Navarro, and any other family members forward? Also, will his teacher, Caroline Hall, please join us? Michael Padilla is an avid reader who is reading at the 6th grade level, even though he's just in 3rd grade. He works hard and takes pride in his academic achievements. Michael wants to attend UCLA, and he also wants to serve his community as a police officer. So let's give this future officer a round of applause and invite back Chief Polino. While the outstanding students pose for a group photo, let's give everyone from their school another big round of applause. The classified outstanding employee is custodian Nicole Moore. Will you please come forward? Ms. Moore is dedicated to the staff and students at Arrowhead. She makes sure the school is clean, providing a positive environment for teaching and learning. Her positive attitude has helped her build strong relationships with her coworkers and the students. Let's give Ms. Moore another round of applause. And our final honoree from Arrowhead is program facilitator Armida Martinez. Will you please come forward? Armida continually maintains a positive attitude while working with staff, students, and parents. She focuses on results by providing professional development to Arrowhead teachers so that they can in turn provide the best education possible to students. Let's give Ms. Martinez another round of applause. And finally, we have Barton Elementary School and Principal Janice Gordon Ellis. Let's give her a big round of applause. We also would like to welcome our first honoree, fourth grader, Itza Arambola, and her proud parents, Iraklio and Arambola, and Maribel Vera. Will both of you, along with Itza's teacher, Jacqueline Lee, please join us? Let's give her a big round of applause. Itza is in the top of her class academically. She scores in the 99th percentile in English and the 90th percentile in math. Itza wants to attend college and become a teacher. Let's give her a big round of applause. Our next honoree from Barton is sixth grader Dyra Perez. Will Dyra bring her proud parents Daniel and Myra Alberto to join us? And would her teacher Brittany Johnson also come forward? Dyra is a model student and the epitome of advancement via individual determination, also known as AVID. She is responsible and organized. Her attention to detail is present in everything she does. Dyra says she wants to attend UC Santa Barbara, and she plans to open an eco-friendly business. Let's give her a big round of applause. It looks like her teacher, Brittany Johnson, is up front, so we will ask Brittany to remain up front because our final Barton student is Zachariah Saha, also in sixth grade. Would Zachariah please bring his proud mother, Brittany Backerink, and any other family members to please come forward? Zachariah is an exceptional role model and scholar. He scores in the 97th percentile in language arts and in the 86th percentile in math. He understands the importance of perseverance, and he also displays leadership qualities. Zachariah says he wants to attend college and become a singer/songwriter. Let's give him a big round of applause. While the students pose for a photo, we're going to invite parent volunteer Zena Terrell and her family to join us. Zena is Barton's School Site Council chairperson. She's also a member of ELAC and the African American Parent Advisory Council. She even hosts a meet and greet with other parents, and she is currently recruiting volunteers for the school's talent show. We appreciate her dedication to Barton. Let's give Zena a big round of applause. And our outstanding classified employee from Barton is health aide and office assistant Bridget Connor. Let's welcome her. Ms. Connor is a part of Barton's leadership team. She understands the needs of students, making sure students are supported physically and emotionally, as well as academically. She also takes the initiative to make hope happen at Barton every day. Let's give Bridget another round of applause. Our outstanding certificated employee is Kathleen Delgado. Let's welcome her up front. Ms. Delgado is affectionately known as Dancing Delgado. She has a passion that she shows for the art of dance and for using that as a way to connect to her students and help them develop their own talents. With Kathleen's guidance, Barton students are able to find creative and positive ways to express themselves and become better people. Let's give them another round of applause. And this concludes our outstanding student, parent, and employee segment of tonight's agenda. Let's give all of the honorees another big round of applause. Thank you for your attention.
All right, thank you so much for coming down, and congratulations to all the recipients, the students, the staff, the teachers, principals, everyone that's involved. Thank you so much for coming down, and congratulations to everyone. We are going to go ahead and move to 2.2, and I see, where did we end up last time? Doc, you want to do it? Okay, so I'll have 2.2, resolution supporting the Schools and Local Communities Funding Act. If I can have Ms. Rogers.
Okay. Thank you. I will begin.
And we'll be moving down 2.3 if Dr. Hill, if you don't mind.
Resolution supporting the Schools and Local Communities Funding Act. Whereas since Proposition 13 passed in 1978, California school funding has experienced limitations in what was once the main source of school funding, the property tax. And whereas California schools face many challenges in providing an equitable education for students with differences in language, income, parental education level, and other factors. And whereas the Schools and Local Communities Funding Act will provide billions in yearly funding for public schools and other vital needs. Therefore, be it resolved that the San Bernardino City Unified School District Board of Education supports the Schools and Local Communities Funding Act. So moved.
Okay, any discussion? If not, let's go ahead and call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say nay. Okay, motion carried. 2.3, a resolution in recognition of National School Psychology Week. Dr. Hill?
Thank you, Madam President. Whereas the Board of Education of the San Bernardino City Unified School District joins others across the state and nation in recognizing National School Psychology Week, which is November 12 to 16, 2018. And whereas children's mental health is linked to their learning and development, and school psychologists foster and deliver mental health services and academic support that lower barriers to teaching and learning. Therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Education encourages all district schools to set aside November 12 through 16, 2018 as National School Psychology Week and acknowledge the contributions that school psychologists make each day. So moved.
Okay, any discussion? Not, let's go ahead and call for the vote. All's in favor say aye. All's opposed say nay. Okay, motion carried. 2.4, resolution in recognition of Substitute Educators Day, but also known as guest teachers. Dr. Flores.
Thank you, Madam President. Resolution in recognition of Substitute Educator Day, Guest Teacher Day. Whereas substitute educators are a vital part of the education profession, providing a balanced education for students, and whereas the Board of Education of the San Bernardino City Unified School District joins others around the nation in recognizing Friday, November 16th as Substitute Educators Day. Therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Education encourages all district schools to set aside Friday, November 16th, 2018, to acknowledge the contributions substitute employees make to our students and our schools. So moved.
Okay, any discussion? If not, let's go ahead and call for the vote. All in favor say aye. All's opposed say nay. Motion carried. 2.5, Dr. Wyatt, can you read the resolution in recognition of Veterans Day?
Thank you, Madam President. Be honored to do so. Resolution in recognition of Veterans Day. Whereas November 11, 1918 marked the end of World War I, and in 1938, Congress passed a bill to dedicate November 11th to the cause of world peace, and following War II, the day became Veterans Day. And whereas on Veterans Day, all citizens should pause, reflect, and honor our veterans, past and present, our MIAs, and those brave Americans whose service and sacrifice enable us to enjoy peace and freedom in the greatest nation in the world, the United States of America. Therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Education hereby expresses its gratitude, appreciation, and respect for the service of veterans and members of the United States Armed Forces, and encourages all district schools to undertake educational activities that commemorate the history and contributions of our nation's veterans. So move.
Second.
Any discussion? Not, let's go ahead and call for the vote. All's in favor say aye. All opposed say nay. Motion carried. 3.0, closed session. We will adjourn to closed session. And we should resume for approximately around 6:45. All right, thank you so much. We'll be right back. Okay, we are back, and I see our fourth board member is coming in, so I'll go ahead and read what we have from closed session. Be it resolved that the Board of Education accepts the notice of recommendation for disciplinary action and statement of charges to dismiss the following classified employee from his or her employment with the district. HR Class 18-1901. Can I have a motion?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Not, let's go ahead and call for the vote. All's in favor say aye. Aye. All's opposed say nay. Okay, motion carried. Next one is, be it resolved that the Board of Education approves the appointment of the following employee: Sergeant Kimbre, elementary school principal. Oh, she's here today. Oh, hey. Elementary school principal, Newmark Elementary School. Effective date, work year, and salary to be determined. Funding 035. All's in favor say aye. Aye. All's opposed say nay. Okay. motion
Stand so we can
carried.
see you.
Congratulations. Congratulations. All right, we're now with Wadri Lydia, elementary school principal, Bradley Elementary School, effective date, work year. I didn't do a motion. I didn't have a motion. Can I do both? I thought I did have a motion. You can do both. I'll do both. Okay. That's right. And I didn't go forward. I got excited. That's what happened. I was like, yes, I was going with the excitement. Okay, so let me go back then. So effective date, work year, and salary to be determined, funding 035. Now, can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, let's call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion carried. Yay, congratulations.
Can you
both-
stand? There.
Yay, there you go. Okay, so then we're going to go to the last one, which is for, be it resolved that the Board of Education approves of settlement authority number C1, CI-18-19-07 in the amount of $30,945. $30,945. Be it resolved that the Board of Education authorizes Deborah Love, Purchasing Director, to sign any related documents. Can I have a motion? Second. Any discussion? If not, let's go ahead and call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say nay. Okay, motion carried. Okay, great. Congratulations to everyone again. So now we're moving into our, I will now convene convene open session, which I should have done earlier. Now 5.0, student board members' comments. We have Mr. Greg Wielder, and we have Casimir Middleton. Do you want to go ahead and go ahead and start? Because last time we were in reverse, and so we'll have Casimir go ahead and present.
Hello, I'm Casimir Middleton. At my school, I have joined the Young Women Empowerment Foundation that helps us young women learn about our worth and our full potential. Next month, I'm excited to say that with the Jobs for California Graduates program that is held at my school, I'll be going to Washington, D.C. for a 2-day conference for the program around the whole United States, and I'm excited because I've never been to Washington, D.C.
Yay.
And yeah.
That's great. That's it? Okay, great. Thank you so much for your board comments. We have Greg, Mr. Greg.
Hi, my name is Greg Weidler, and on October 7th, one of Pacific's counselors, Ms. Prutzman, passed away. I'd just like to take a moment to honor her because she was very special to me. Ms. Prutzman supported me as well as many other students at the school in hard times, in bad times, and when the world seemed unfair and unreasonable, she was the voice of reason. She was a shoulder to cry on, and she was just always there for us. When I had the opportunity to become a student board member, she was the one who really pushed me to take the opportunity because it could really further my life. And she said, you know, don't let the pressure get to you. Just, you'll be great. I'd just like to thank her for everything she's done for me because she's changed my life, and she won't be forgotten.
Greg, maybe would you like us, Greg, to have a moment of silence and honor her? Okay, why don't we do that? Have a moment of silence, please. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And when you have a person, and we have many educators in the district that impact students' lives like that, and I appreciate you bringing that and sharing that with us. Thank you so much for doing that. We're going to go ahead and go to 6.0, public comments. This is a time during the agenda when the Board of Education is prepared to receive comments from members of the public on any matter within its subject matter jurisdiction. And when recognized, please step to the podium, give your name, and limit your comments to 5 minutes or less. The time limit for public comments by 6 or more individuals on any one topic is 30 minutes. Please monitor your time. Dr. Marsden, any public comments? But
Yes.
before we go there, just so you know, the time is behind us. And then, of course, the podium is right there.
Thank you, Madam President. So the board has, we have 2 public comments tonight. First, we invite Ms. Linda Hart, speak on the topic of student recovery, school first. Thank you. Welcome, Ms. Hart. Good evening.
To Madam Chair, board members, and superintendent, we all know the data when it relates to chronic absenteeism among all the different ethnic groups. So I'm not going to go too much into that because I am having conversation on how we'll be able to do that. But what I want to share is one of the youth came to my office. We give out food to a lot of individuals in the community. And I just want to share a story because something that we need to think about, what is it and where do they go when they're not in school? So I just want to touch and give you a glimpse of what was shared with me by a young gentleman who was 15 years old. So he came into the office and he asked me if I had some water and some sport bars to give them and some other things that we had there for him. And it was during the weekday, and I'm like, aren't you supposed to be in class? And he's like, yeah. But he started sharing that his mom had to get up in the morning like 4 o'clock to catch 2 buses to get to work, and his older brother had to be there to make sure that the other kids, including himself, had to get to school. So there was really no accountability. But this is the part that really floored me, and I am very, very concerned. I said, so what do kids do? What do you do when you're not in class? He shared with me that him and several of his friends find individuals to videotape them having sex so that they can get money. Can you believe that? And so when he shared that with me, first of all, I had to gather myself because I was thinking, he's going to tell me go to a friend's house and just whatever they do. But when he shared that with me, I was concerned because then I started thinking, all of the kids, the numbers that I looked at of chronic absentee students who should be in school, if this young boy was in school, he wouldn't be out finding strangers to videotape him and his friends so they can get money. He would be sitting in a classroom. So I just want to share that story because that's just one of many of that was the most severe one that I've ever heard. But all of the other stories that I've heard, and intervening does make a difference. So I'm trying to find someone that could mentor him and ensure him that school is the best and safest place. So we got to get our kids in school. We got to make sure that they have access to a safe place so they won't be out doing these kind of things. I'm trying to think, the kids, young kids I see out on the street, how many of them are chronic absentees, but they're not in class, but they're hanging out on the street? So I just want to share that one story and how important it is for student recovery.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank
Ms.
you.
Hart. And thank you for what
Madam
you do for
President?
kids.
Yeah,
Tillman?
Then, Ms. Hart, I just want to thank you for all the work you've done, and I mean that story illustrates just your ability to reach all our kids. And I did talk to Ms. Perez today. She says she has a meeting scheduled with you.
Correct.
Because we do want to get you involved as soon as possible to continue the work you've been doing for us. We know we have a huge problem, and it gets past the term, like you just showed. It gets past the term, quote unquote, chronic absenteeism. Really gets down to we know that students are better off in school, and whatever we got to do to build those bridges and to help them overcome their obstacles, that's what our goal is. So we're
Correct.
going to be contacting you real soon to get you involved to help us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam President?
Yes, Dr. Flores?
Yes. Ms. Hart, I also want to thank you for all the work that you've done. And just so that board remembers, you've done tremendous work on chronic absenteeism. And I think that, your expertise and your knowledge and your authenticity in the community, they trust you. I think that we should, get you started doing that again because we really need, we're not there. We don't see these things. And this young man was willing to tell you the stories.
Yes.
And just, I'm thinking, oh my God, what else are they doing that we don't know about and
Right.
isn't, healthy for them when we need to reach out to them. And we need you and many of you, many of you.
Right.
So
It's a
I
big
hope
job.
you will follow Mr. Tillman's recommendation and mine for you to come forward to talk with Dr. Perez so that you can continue working with us. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
And just one last comment, and I would encourage you, as well as all the other parents that I know you're interfaced with, especially when we find that out, I hope that student is reconnected and definitely found out which school they are in, maybe bus passes, it may be other things like that, but we can start one student at a time
Right.
and take the burden off of, you and the community doing that as well. We reconnect them, and then
Right.
the trust is built again, so appreciate that.
Thank you.
All
Thank
right,
you, Ms.
thank you
Hart.
for sharing that.
And the board now welcomes, it looks like Belen Vera would like to share her experiences at Options for Youth, San Bernardino. She's a senior of Options for Youth and will be graduating soon. She'll share part of her graduation speech this evening. So welcome and good evening. Glad you're here. Thanks for coming by. Hi, good evening.
Hi. Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. Public speaking is like one of the most dangerous things ever, right? It's tough, but you're going to do great.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Good evening and congrats to class of 2018. I can't believe I'm standing here with you today. No speech could do justice to the experience I have had at OFY. There was a time in my life where I never imagined I'd be in a crowd, let alone giving a speech. Graduating was something I never really thought about either until I came to OFY. It was a goal I thought I'd never achieve. Before coming to OFY, my life was hectic. I was in a private school that I rarely attended because I was always in psychiatric hospitals. Having severe anxiety and depression that prohibits me from doing the most basic things, such as leaving the house and most of the time just leaving my bed. Due to these reasons and more, it was recommended that I try independent studies. Walking into OFY for the first time was something I will never forget. I opened the door and the first thing I saw was a beautiful and welcoming smile. I instantly felt welcomed and I knew this would be the place I'd stay and graduate from. It felt like home. My first days were a bit hard. I had to get used to a new school setting, figure out a new schedule that would work with my hours at school, and adjust to the whole packet system, just like everyone else. The difference is that I have a severe anxiety disorder that gets in the way. This makes being around people hard, which leads me to getting dizzy because I forget to breathe, don't focus on anything because my mind is racing. I'm shaking, crying, and spasming. It gets ugly. So I had that to add on. My first year at OFY was very challenging, as I was behind in credits and suffering academically. I was also doing intense therapy and rehabilitation every day of the week for hours. I had a lot going on, but when I let the staff know of my situation, they were very helpful and supportive. They directed me to resources that were provided in school. I quickly became friends with the school psychologists. They had my back for everything. For example, they stood outside in the hot parking lot for an hour, persuading me to leave the car, shove my anxiety to the side, and go into the center. They were there helping me go through anxiety attacks and to help bring me back down. They worked with me, and my IEP team made sure I had all the accommodations I needed to have a smooth day. They even made plans that would help me graduate. Little by little, things were improving. I went from not being able to walk into the center, glued to my chair until my appointment was over, hiding in the psychologist's room until my mom came to pick me up, to getting up and using the restroom, talking to staff, and even walking across the center to get something, aka to flaunt my outfit. The next step was to go on a Pathways trip. My first trip was a college tour. I started small. I didn't know anyone the first day. The last day, however, I had made multiple friends from multiple centers. The trips allowed me to open up to small groups of people and have a feeling of independence. I learned many things while on the trips, such as that have been helpful to date, such as a future university I want to attend. I remember seeing my teacher Tanya cry while she tried to explain that I came back a different person, a happier and more positive person. This encouraged me to also go to Washington, D.C., Colorado, do the community service trip, and I have even been accepted to Cuba. Thanks to all the support I have at OFY, I was motivated to do the best I could every day. I woke up wanting to go to school. I finished intense therapy. I looked forward to trips and joined student council. Believe it or not, I even joined the theater club. I have had some challenges here and there and points where I thought graduating wasn't worth it anymore, but OFY staff wouldn't let me back down. They would remind me of how far I've come and how much I've improved, and for that I am grateful. OFY has allowed me to grow strong in a safe environment, educationally and mentally wise. They took me from believing graduating was impossible to walking with honors. I have many things I plan to do after OFY, from going straight to college and pursuing a successful career to even exploring more of the world or becoming an inspirational speaker. Something I will do for sure is carry everything I've learned at OFY and always be grateful for the support and opportunities that OFY provided for me. We all have a story at OFY, some more signifying than others, but a story nonetheless. This is mine. Now that you know it, I hope you see me as a strong, independent woman OFY has helped me be. I also hope you remember your story, and I hope it helps guide you in some way. Know that anything is possible no matter your situation, and be the change you want to see in the world. I am proud to see all of you here, to know I'm not the only one OFY has helped in some way. I applaud every one of you as you walk across the stage and pursue your next step. Congratulations, OFY graduates, and shout out to all of us graduating as first generation. Thank you.
Wow, congratulations.
job.
That's a fantastic speech, Ms. Vera. And you just demonstrated that not only are you a great public speaker, but you're a strong woman. So thank you for your example tonight. Thank
And
you so
very
much.
articulate with your
And
words.
thank you for taking the
sharing.
time to speak to us tonight. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you for listening.
You're going to do
you.
great.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
So, Board, those are all the public comments tonight, both inspiring comments so far. So we'll keep moving.
Great, thank you. And we are at 5:05, and we're going to go to 7.1, overview of the state's accountability model, part 2. And before I move that, I just want to let the board know that I am going to, it seems like every 3 or 4 pages, I will ask for a pause, so that way we can ask any questions. And I will start from one side and then move to the other end. And if there's none questions, then I'll go ahead and move forward. It's pretty lengthy, but very good material, so I want to make sure that we also hear from you, but at the same time, we want to move along. So I appreciate that. And so if we can have Dr. Morrison, please introduce the presentation.
Thank you, Madam President. So yes, Board, this is part 2. As promised, tonight we'll take a closer look at our own student performance data. Last meeting, we discussed the state's new accountability system as well as district and school level data. This meeting, we're going to go deep into the student group data. The first half of the presentation will look at student performance detailed to each student group, illustrated in ways that help us to see where there's progress or where there's not. You'll notice that though we have some opportunities for improvement, we continue to stay on track and often even outpace our comparison districts. Then the second half of the presentation will demonstrate our current and new actions to address poor performance. In a recent conversation with Dr. Reeves, many of you who have met him, who is leading our work with teachers on D's and F's, he says that many districts often spend more energy and emotion on last year's results or data than they do on examining this year's actions to achieve results. Tonight, I'm confident you'll hear a balanced approach that demonstrates significant attention to our students who our system serves least well. At the end of this presentation, you'll hear from Principal Luis Chavez, who's an example of not only moving a school level data, but also student group performance. And so with that, Dr. Mitchell and Ms. Richardson are prepared to share this presentation with you of information. And as Ms. Medina mentioned, they'll pause at natural breaks and see if there are any questions on that section. So with that, Dr. Mitchell, good evening.
Good evening, Board President Medina, board members, and community. Tonight, Cabinet will present Part 2 of the district's performance on the California Assessment of Student Progress and Performance. If you recall from the last board meeting on October 2nd, we presented Part 1, which covered district and school level performance data. Tonight, we will present student group data. This will include racial and programmatic student achievement data. So tonight's presentation objectives are as follows. We have 4 of them. One is to review our understandings of the California School Accountability System, which will take a few minutes to review the 5x5 color chart to check all of our understanding of how to read this complex system. Number 2, we're going to share the 2018 status and change projected outcomes for elementary, middle, and middle school CAPS English Language Arts, Literacy, and Mathematics by student groups. We'll then share a gap analysis for the African American and English language learner student groups. And then lastly, we're going to share a variety of strategies that we're putting into place or already have in place to move our performance. And so, as with all Cabinet Board presentations, we like to start off with the end in mind. We call this our driver slides. So the next 3 slides are a summary of the data that will be shared during the course of the presentation. So everything that I'm about to read now, you'll see later in the course, but this is just to set up what you're seeing. So number 1, our status in English Language Arts was negative 29.1 average scale points, and we grew 6.7 scale points year over year. Our status in mathematics was negative 60.9 average scale points, and we grew 2.1 scale points. We anticipate that our overall performance level for English language arts will remain at yellow, and our overall performance for math will drop to orange for 17-18. In both English language arts and mathematics, the majority of our schools are operating at the low status range, and we'll get to the color chart to make some reference to that. Some cause for celebration are as follows. You'll see on bullets 5 and 6 and 7, 63% of all of our schools increased year over year in ELA and math. Number 6, 64% and 54% of all TSSP schools increased in ELA and math respectively. Cabinet would like to thank the board for allocating additional funds to better serve our lowest performing schools through the TSSP dollars. Number 7, our African American students grew 4.8 scale score points in ELA, but unfortunately our African American student group declined 1.8 scale points in math. Last slide, overview. Number 9, English language learner only student group status in English language arts is negative 81.3, and we grew a 9.8 average scale score points. Our ELL only student group status in mathematics is negative 96.6, and we grew 1.7 average scale score points. In special education, our student group status in ELA is negative 119.8, and we grew 0.7 average scale score points. And secondly, with special ed, our student group status in mathematics is negative 156.3, and we declined 7.2 average scale points for special ed student group.
Okay. And I just want to pause really quickly. I know this is just the beginning, and I want to be mindful with the board. Any questions on these? I will be asking pause in a few more pages, so if you want to wait, I just want to make sure.
Just so I'm clear, the grades that these results reflect are what? The grades they were tested at, in terms of
3 through 8th.
3 through 8.
Yes.
And no high school grades.
No high school.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's it? And then Dr. Flores.
Yes, on page 3, can you explain again, for example, when it says minus 29.9, minus 60.9, what that means?
Certainly be happy to. We're getting right to that on our next slide.
Okay.
Oh, you're not going to do that now?
Well, I'm getting right. Our next slide is.
Your next slide would be, okay.
Yes.
And then on the African American student group status in mathematics.
What page are you on?
Page 4,
Yes.
number 6.
Yes.
So it's already minus 96.2, and the kids declined even more.
Yes,
to
by
1
1.8 scale score points, as written.
So is that added into the negative, 96.2?
No, it goes up positive.
Positive?
Yes. Or no, more
No,
negative.
it's negative
More
because
I
it
apologize.
declined.
It's going to be a bigger negative number. It's
Yeah, it'll be a
98%.
bigger negative number. Yes.
Negative 98.
But it declined.
Yes, it declined.
So it wouldn't be
1.8.
so it wouldn't be positive.
You're correct. It says, let me read it again. African American student group status in mathematics
Right.
is negative 96.2, and we declined by 1.8 average scale score points.
And that's for the kids in 3rd through 8th.
Eighth grade, yes.
Okay. And I saw later on that you're going to go
Absolutely.
into the numbers.
Okay.
Okay. Thank
All right.
you.
Thank you so much, and we will pause later on.
So we're back on
Please
slide
proceed.
6. And thanks for teeing me up, Dr. Flores. Here we're going to review our discussion from the last board meeting. I'd like to take a moment to review the interpretation of the state's new accountability model. This is referred to as by the state as the 5x5 color table. If you look along the vertical axis, that denotes status, and so you'll see very high, high, medium, low, and very low. If you look along the horizontal axis, this denotes change, either growth or decline, or the level of growth or decline from one year over the next. So when you're looking at change, it's looking at 16-17 compared to 17-18, and when you're looking at status, that is the 17-18 status or where the performance landed. So let's practice. So if the board can look at the color-coded chart, let's say a school scored at the medium level, so find medium, and increased year over year, what color would we land on? Green. Green. The second to the right. Green. Let's try another one. Let's say a school scored high. So we're looking across the status, the vertical axis, but decreased significantly year over year. Where would they land? Green, furthest left green in the high status. Are there any questions about how to interpret this table? Happy to practice some more. Let's say that a school had a status of very low, but increased significantly. Where would they land? Orange. Also, too, across the vertical axis, when you see very high and so on and so forth, you'll see the points associated with that level. So very high is 45 points and above, and so on and so forth, all the way down to the negatives where you see very low. Board, any questions about that? I'll move on. Next slide. At the last board meeting, some of this is review. This is, again, our 2016-2017 CASP comparison to our local districts. This comparison data is limited to 16-17 school year, as the 17-18 data is not yet available. As you can see, we are outperforming the districts listed above, with the exception of Riverside and Redlands in both math and English. And so, Dr. Flores, to your point, if you see on the chart, it says meet standard 3, and that's a 0. And then you'll see, like in San Bernardino for let's say San Bernardino for math, our status is negative 63. And then our status for English language arts is negative 35.8. So as we do better, we move to the right until we get to positive, and then you're starting to get positive numbers from there. And you'll see where your local districts lie. Rialto in math at negative 84. Moreno Valley in English at negative 55.9, and so on and so forth. So this is just, our status is negative according to this model, yes. Next slide, please. Yes. Slide 8. This is our projected growth for 2017-18. Again, these are projected numbers because the state data is not yet official. As you can see, we are projected to improve by 2.1 scaled score points in math. You see that we're moving from negative 63 to negative 60.9, which gives us a 2.1 gain. Also, the associated, and then you also see in English, you see we went from negative 35.8 to negative 29.1, which nets us a 6.7 point gain. You'll see that we have the associated pie charts in ELA math. Math is at orange. We're projecting that we'll be at orange. And then ELA is at yellow. And you'll see the association there. Yellow is in the middle of the pie chart performance levels, and then orange is a lower level. So math. So we experienced some positive growth in math, but certainly not enough. Certainly not what we want to see. Next slide.
Madam President.
So then, for instance, right now, we would be asking questions, but then I'm going to go ahead and move down. I want to ask Scott. Scott, do you have any questions? And just move down this way, so that way we're all included, make sure.
And thank you again, Dr. Mitchell.
Yes.
So just looking at our comparison local districts chart we have on page 7. And excuse me, I want to try to use the right terms here. Is it status score? Is that what scaled score on the left? Like our negative score there?
So these are all average scale score points.
Scale scores.
Yes.
Okay, so with where we're at right now in regards to our math score and our ELA score, even if we significantly increase, the highest we could be is yellow, correct?
No, I mean, for example, if we went, say in math, we're currently at negative 63. We take the test this spring and we gain 63 points, we'd be at meet standards.
Be at least what?
We'd be at meet standards. So let's look at that.
Well, I'm looking on the 5x5.
Oh,
I'm
on the
sorry.
5x5. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So we're very low. No, we're not very low. We're orange.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're low. And say that we scored, that's a good question. Say that we scored 63, we grew 63 points. That would put us at 0. That would be a significant increase.
Mm-hmm.
And we'd be
Yellow?
No, wouldn't it be yellow?
Might be yellow. Not
Yeah,
really.
we'd land at 0. We wouldn't be yellow, we'd be blue. Does that make
See,
sense?
and then I'm misinterpreting this thing, because on our 5x5, we're, I'm looking at our negative 63, would that not put us in the low group
I can't see it because it's so small. But
on the
no,
5x5?
we'd be in the green group.
No.
No, I
Minus
don't, we couldn't
63.
be.
If we gain 63 points. So
No,
let's,
he's
No, we're
talking
negative
about-
63.
yeah, but let's say that we took the test in the spring, coming up, and we gained 63 points. That would put us at 0. If you look at 0,
Oh,
that would
well,
make
oh,
us
I
a
see what you're saying.
medium. And then we'd be green for increase significantly.
So
you could-
we
you
would
can
have to
change.
increase that score
Yeah.
on the left side,
Yes.
is what you're saying, this upcoming year?
Yes. So
And then
it's-
we can move over on the right side.
Absolutely. So
Okay, so that's not a static number then, that minus
No,
63?
not at all. That's
Okay,
the
good. No,
point.
that's what I needed to
Yeah,
know.
thank you for asking that.
No, that's
Yeah,
excellent.
So this is
Thank
where
you.
you land. So status is where we took the test and we landed here. This is our score.
So that can shift then? up.
Absolutely.
Okay, good. No,
Absolutely.
perfect. Thank you for clarifying that.
Thank you for asking.
All right, Dr. Flores?
Yes, just following up on Dr. Wyatt's question. It looks like the trend, though, is that we're just gaining 2-point gain in math. So it would be unlikely that we would gain 63 points.
Yes, I just use that as an example.
Right. So it's we're gaining very slowly, which is we're still underwater.
We
Even though we are showing minimal gains, we're still underwater. We're not meeting the standard. We're far from it. And that, of course, concerns me because I don't know about Danny. I've been on the board for 11 years, and our kids seem to not grow. And so I'm very concerned that 2 points a year is not good enough, not sufficient.
So we hear you and we understand and
Right.
we acknowledge your concern. We share
Right.
your concern. Thank you. Dr.
So, pointing out growth is, I know you want to show people that we're growing, but it kind of is a false, how would you say? It's a false expectation.
So I
Because
wanna
it
show
isn't
that
significant enough.
I want to show that we're growing, but beyond that, I want to show what we're actually doing. So this is what we're actually doing and how we're performing.
Right.
But we hear you.
Yeah, I'm concerned about that. And then this is all averages. This is everybody, all the 3rd through 8th grade students. I mean, what do they look like, in each grade by subgroup, by school? I mean, that's the data that we really need so that teachers can see where they're at and principals.
So Dr. Flores, we are going to show you tonight school level, student group level data.
I know,
The drilling down-
just certain ones, though. I want to know all of them.
We have that on the dashboards when they come out.
Right.
So on the dashboards, for the state dashboards, every person in the community will be able to go to any school, click on any grade level, drill down as far as they want. Those dashboards are not available as yet, but so tonight you're seeing estimates by student group level data.
I thought that data was already available 3 months ago.
It's not.
I thought the dashboard data was already available 3 months ago.
It's not.
It's not
It's not available. It will be available in December.
in December?
Yeah, if you go on the
The
dashboard.
preliminary data isn't out to you
It
guys?
is not on, this is the preliminary data that you're looking
Yeah,
at,
okay.
but it's not on the CDE website.
No, I'm saying, but it did go out to districts
Yes,
preliminarily,
yes.
right? Okay.
All right, thank you, Dr. Flores. Dr. Hill, no comments? Questions?
Thank you. I'll hold my questions until the end. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Rogers?
I just had a quick question, and you may be answering this further down the road, but on page 8, on the gains, are we going to be able to see what caused the gains that are there? Are you getting into this presentation tonight?
Yeah, absolutely. So
Okay.
we asked one of our principals to come share
Okay.
how he got those gains, and we'll share those specific gains that he got, and that they're exceeding our district averages.
And how, and some of
how
those
he's-
best practices.
Yeah, so
Okay, great. That's what I want to see.
Mr. Tillman?
For me, this is all based on the new Common Core, right?
Correct.
which is supposed to be so great. So I don't see what the whole excitement was about the whole Common Core testing. This in no way is more informative than the previous testing. And so, every 5 years we have some new way of teaching and we have some new standard. And I have a concern about it because all I care about is the kids actually learning and from 3rd grade to 8th grade, the fundamentals and the basics, so they can start taking their algebra and calculus and physics once they get to high school and college. Yeah. So my question to you is, were the difference in the gaps between the African Americans and the other students in the previous testing, was it as large as it is here?
Yes, it is.
So
Yes.
it's the same thing that's continuing.
Yeah, these are consistent with national and California trends.
But I'm saying compared to the old test.
Yes.
And so are we looking at tools to, number one, identify, I think Dr. Flores said earlier, I'm sure we're going to look at specific schools at some point.
Absolutely. And
then-
so Mr. Tillman, we always have that struggle of how deep to go with a board meeting,
I understand.
20-minute presentation. Certainly, we have access to school level classroom data at our fingertips now. Our struggle is always what level of data do we present to the board that'll be meaningful for the board level and policy development, while our schools, our principals are really responsible for digging.
And I'll
into the
end with
classroom.
that. So locally, this board has decided that we're going to set aside money for schools that we deem to be the lowest performing schools and make sure we have resources there. So the question is, are those resources making a difference at those schools?
Yes.
And based on the results, have schools rose high enough so they won't get the additional resources, but other schools be identified that will get the resources?
Yes, so if you go back to slide 4, Mr. Tillman, we suggested that 64%, or 7 out of 11 of our TSSP schools increased significantly in English language arts, and 54% of those schools increased significantly in mathematics. So we're seeing the dollars making a difference, the allocation. And as suggested earlier, we thank the board for allocating those funds and giving us that latitude to move resources around.
And it's not in here, but would it be safe to say that at those schools that the performance of African American students also increased?
That's mixed, and I'll show you that later.
I'd like to see that.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, and then we're gonna pause for any other additional questions until after page 12. So that would please write down your questions in the meantime.
Okay.
Please proceed.
So thank you. I'm on slide 9, board. The next 7 slides show student groups, that is racial and programmatic groups on the performance on the CAS by ELA and math. And so if you look at slide 10, this slide shows ELA performance by race and ethnicity. Board, as you can see, all racial and ethnic student groups improved year over year in English language arts. Of concern, of course, is the achievement of African American students. We will present a detailed action plan to address this concern at the end of this segment.
The Asian group didn't.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I miss that? Oh, I apologize. All of the racial and ethnic subgroups improved year over year, with the exception of our Asian students. And if you note, there's 300 Asian students that's in this calculation. Next slide. This slide shows ELA performance by program. You'll see that we've listed district-wide, foster youth, homeless, SES or socioeconomically disadvantaged, and students with disabilities. Next slide. Slide 12. This slide shows ELA performance by English language learner student groups. At the request of Dr. Flores, we have disaggregated the data by EL only, RFEP only. RFEP means reclassified fully proficient, and combined EL only and RFEP. This disaggregation allows us to really target our supports to the needs of the individual students. Point of note, you will not see an estimated pie chart. You'll see that on the district-wide, the notion we have the pie chart on the district-wide, and then we also have English learners that include EL only and RFEP. The reason for this is that the state only uses the combined EL group as part of its accountability model to measure EL achievement. So you won't see a pie chart under EL only and RFEP only. Those are local disaggregations that we've provided for you at the board's request so that we can peel off those groups of students and really get a sense for how the different classifications our EL students are doing. Board, as you can see, all EL student groups improved year over year in ELA. Of concern, of course, is the achievement of EL only students. We will present a detailed action plan to address this concern at the end of this segment.
Okay, so this is the end of page 12. So I'm going to go ahead and opposite level. Mr. Tillman, if you have any questions, I'm going to head down. If not, then we can move along to math.
So maybe I'm reading something wrong. You said the concern will be the EL only, but it looks like the EL only outperformed the other groups.
No. Our EL only, if you look at the chart, they performed at negative 81.3. Their change was they improved, but you'll see how far below in their performance they're doing according to the district average. So the district is at negative 29.1 status, and the EL only.
Even though they improved at a higher rate, they're still low.
Yeah.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Yeah. And you'll see that our English language earners, that includes EL and RFEP, are closely pacing the district average at negative 38. Okay.
Do the English EL students are students that
are learning to speak
Hasn't
English,
been reclassified.
are either new to the country, have been here?
and do they take the test in English or in their native
English.
language?
It's in English.
Well, that would explain a lot.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Ms. Rogers, any questions? No? Okay, we're going to move along. Dr. Hill, Dr. Flores?
Yes. I want to thank you for disaggregating this data, because that's what advocate groups all over the state are requesting, that this data become disaggregated so that we can actually pinpoint, all the different developmental stages of where the kids are. And, it is, Mr. Tillman, because they do take the test in their second language and they haven't been reclassified, of course, their scores are going to be down and low. And the RFEPs, those are the kids that have been reclassified, so you can see that they're improving. And that means that once they're reclassified and what we're doing is good. Yep. My concern is what you said earlier, where are our monies going in terms of providing service for EL only. So that would be important to note in terms of supporting, where are they concentrated? And that's why I'm asking for schools. Yeah. Where are they concentrated? Where are they at? What do we need to do more of? Do we need more program specialists? Do we need, what are the needs? And not just for ELs, but also our African American students, and also for our special needs students. Okay, thank you.
So thank you, and you'll see our recommendations later in the
Right.
presentation around EL.
And I'm going to say it again, even though we're progressing, we're still under the water.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We agree, and we hear you.
Dr. White, did you have any additional questions? Okay, then we'll go ahead and move. The next time we're going to ask questions is after the end of page 17.
Good. So board, you're looking at slide 13. This is in math, which we just finished ELA. And so this slide shows math performance by race and ethnicity. Similar to our ELA performance, of concern, of course, is the achievement of African American students. We'll present a detailed action plan to address this concern at the end of the section of this segment. Next slide. Slide 14. This slide shows math performance by program. And you'll see, again, our foster youth, our homeless youth, our socioeconomically disadvantaged, and our students with disabilities across there. Next slide. Again, similar to the ELA slide, this slide shows math performance by English language learner student groups. Again, at the request of Dr. Flores, we've disaggregated the data by EL only, RFEP, which means reclassified fully proficient, and combined EL only and RFEP. Again, in ELA, point of note, you'll not see the pie charts as we explained earlier because the state uses the EL only and RFEP as a way to measure EL performance. Board, as you can see, all EL student groups improved year over year. And again, of concern, of course, is the achievement of EL-only students, and we'll present a plan a little later in the presentation.
Okay.
Next slide. And here's, so there, if you look at slide 16, board, we've divided our next steps in two areas. This is to address the overall CAS trends that we're seeing across the district. Later, you'll see a slide dedicated to African American student achievement and a slide dedicated to EL-only student achievement, as well as other EL groups as well. So for number one, we're going to continue to provide technical support, training, and coaching to site leaders to strengthen the alignment, quality, and impact of their professional learning, professional collaboration, and instructional supervision systems at the school. What this means is that for the second year, we've implemented what we've called principal work plans. The principals have identified collaboratively with their staffs the learning needs of teachers and have aligned their professional development system, their planning and collaboration systems, and instructional supervision so that teachers are getting feedback on what they're learning in PD time, in MOU time, and so on and so forth. Number two, we're going to continue to build the district and site leaders' capacity in data literacy. So this idea of having of our teachers really using data to transform instruction and to really use it real time to change what they're doing by getting formative data by grade level and by classroom so as they're able to make some instructional decisions while we're moving instead of waiting for the CASP. Number three, continue to provide structured opportunities for site leaders to collaborate. At the last board meeting, the board stressed on how are we sharing some of the good practices from some of the principles that we're bringing up. Well, during site leaders meetings, every site leader meeting, we provide time for our principals to collaborate with one another. We realized a few years ago that number one, our principals are working in isolation of each other. The principals often don't have time to visit each other. We create those opportunities during site leaders meetings. We also have cluster-wide meetings where those schools are visiting each other's schools and working together. And now we've just implemented instructional foci network. So all of our schools have a foci for adult learning. And so, of course, there's some commonalities in that, and those teams meet together to discuss practice. Number four, we're going to continue to grow the capacity of early literacy teachers or pre-K to 5 teachers to provide professional learning opportunities for teachers, support the rollout of the district's early literacy plan, and train district support staff to provide training and coaching supports. So as the board asked me to provide a dollar amount for the funds that we're spending on professional development, this past year we spent $15 million on professional development out of a $700 million budget. We actually think that's conservative. We believe that investing in the training and coaching and mentoring of our teachers is one of our best investments to improving instruction in the classroom. We'll continue to do that. Number five, continue to grow the capacity of elementary teachers in math. You'll see math is a deficit area for us, particularly at the elementary level. We're seeing that statewide and as well as nationally. The research is suggesting that we need to improve the content knowledge of our elementary teachers because they don't have math degrees. And so being very specific to train our elementary teachers in content and strategy is a huge focus for us. Next slide. Continuing, we're going to expand the current contracted consulting support facilitated by an expert math trainer. Her name is Dr. Walton, to include elementary schools that decrease or significantly decrease in math. Dr. Walton has been used, she's a math expert. We've used her to train our staffs at Norton, Bing Wong, and Curtis. She's primarily responsible for ramping up the math skills of those teachers to support their STEM and manufacturing pathways. She's highly regarded by our teachers, and what we want to do is expand her services to work with some of our lower performing schools in mathematics. Number seven, continue to provide professional development, training, and coaching support to all secondary math teachers facilitated by UCLA. Currently, we have UCLA working with all of our secondary math teachers with strategies as well as content. And we also have them designing our pacing guides or curriculum guides so that teachers we have more coherence with what's being taught, what's the most important things to teach, and what's the best way to teach it. Number eight, the Continuous Improvement Division under Dr. Menarez will continue to provide above and beyond training, supports, and progress monitoring for all TSSP schools. but with a particular target on our schools that are not showing improvement. And so we already have one of the things that the board pushed was creating another division to specifically oversee our special education department, as well as our TSSP schools. We think that's going to add a lot of value to that work. And so the next two slides are focused on special education. And so to give more insight and context to next steps for special ed, I'd like to ask Dr. Menarez to discuss bullets 9 and 10.
Thank you, Dr. Mitchell. So the number 9 board, just want to make it very clear that our special needs students, over 65% of them spend over 50% of their day with general education. So they are sitting in the classrooms with their general education peers. And so when we think about what they would need, as well as our African American youth and our English learners, what we're really working on in continuous improvement is our multi-tiered system of supports, which is a collaborative effort between student services, human resources, educational services, being led through continuous improvement on how do you create a framework and structure for prevention and early intervention, early identification of when children are struggling with their learning. And we are relaunching that as a district with our site leaders in November. We're going to have a pilot of 8 elementary schools, 8 to 10. We're going to focus on elementary first. We really believe that if we catch our students early, ensure that they're reading at grade level, that they're acquiring their math numeracy skills at a very young age, then we'll have less students moving through the system needing additional supports. And in that development of MTSS, a focus on African American youth, English learners, and our special needs students, because even once they're identified with an IEP, we still want them to be successful in the general ed setting. So that's a big piece that we're going to be working on, and board, you'll see a contract coming forth to you at the November board meeting for West Ed. They're going to help us lead that work. We're very excited in that there is someone that just started working for West Ed, had been the superintendent in Sanger Unified, led that work for the state, including going nationally to see what was happening in other states in the nation. And so we get him first kind of to help us lead this work here. So you'll see a contract coming forward for that for West Ed. And the next part is we're doing a lot of work with West Ed. So we have that report that we received with recommendations, and we are going to pull together a special ed advisory. So we're changing the task force to a special ed advisory. We're going to be including general education teachers on that, as well as principals and other case carriers, and develop a 5-year plan for those recommendations, because there were quite a few in there, and we want to make sure that we're including the people in the work, people who will do the work in the decision making. So prioritizing what that will look like. In that, we anticipate that, we know that there's going to be a lot of professional development going on in that. So you will see some contracts on neurodiversity, learning and wellness that we're going to start training some teachers on. It's going to be a pilot for this school year into next school year. And really looking at how do we build the capacity of our classroom teachers in the general ed setting to meet the needs of diverse learners, including special needs students, but also any other student that may not acquire it the first time or in the way that it's initially delivered. So we're looking forward to some growth in that. And then finally, as part of the strategic plan, as we have been talking in special education, there's constant work around compliance, but we really want to start getting down to the content and the programmatic work. And so we are going to be training up the special ed staff, the case carriers, around what's called educational benefit when they're writing their IEPs, that they're writing them at levels that will support the student in what they're learning in the general education setting, as well as the additional skills.
Thank you, Dr. Martinez. We're on slide 18.
So before 18, I know there's some questions. I'm going to start with Dr. Wyatt. If you have any questions, if not, then Dr. Flores.
Yes, on page 16, number 5, I wanted to ask, is UCLA providing in their professional development on how to teach teachers how to teach our kids to solve word problems?
Yes, and so they're focused heavily on word problems as well as conceptual math, and they're also spending a lot of time unpacking the standards so that teachers are understanding what the standards are requiring of students conceptually.
Because I understand that the majority of the questions are word problems at 4, 4, 5, and 6 grades.
Yep.
And what about fractions and division?
So all of those strategies, we're meeting on Saturdays, we're meeting all through the week. Our teachers have given us a lot of positive feedback from UCLA about their work, and so our teachers are engaged and happy to invite you to see some of this stuff. It's really fun to see our teachers collaborating together, talking about instructional practice and sharing practice.
Right. What I'm going to say next to you, Dr. Marsden and Cabinet, it's not criticism, it's constructive criticism. I don't see anything in here on accountability. I see that we're supporting teachers, we're supporting kids, but as evidenced by, I know we're doing formative assessments. I don't want to wait for the standardized tests at the end of the year. How are our kids doing in terms of their formative assessments? That would be accountability.
Yep, I can answer
That would be accountability in terms of how teachers are learning and how principals are guiding and being instructional leaders to their teachers. But we have no evidence. And so what's missing here is accountability.
So I can answer that, Dr. Flores. I'm so glad you asked that.
Right.
It's super important to us as well. So we have benchmarks and formative assessments in place. We are currently in the midst of our first round of formative assessments. If you look
So those
through-
benchmarks are formative assessments?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So if you look, if we revisit our district, our board KPI presentation schedule, what will be included in each presentation is the related formative assessment for that body of information that we're presenting.
Because I think if we have evidence of whether we're succeeding or not,
Absolutely.
then that's accountability.
Yeah, we agree
That's our responsibility for our children. How are they going to move forward if there's no accountability all ways around? I mean, accountability from the board to the superintendent to the cabinet, to the principals, to the teachers, so that the parents can see that we are indeed investing. Yeah, we're investing a lot of time, a lot of money, but what's evidenced by?
So I'm glad. So we hear you. We certainly agree with you on that. We have systems in place to ensure accountability. There's another piece of accountability that's one of our stronger pieces in the district. In the last 3 to 5 years, we've redeveloped the principal evaluation process. That principal evaluation tool is one of the more stringent, rigorous tools that I've seen in my experience, and it's heavily weighted for student achievement outcomes. So we're currently going through evaluating our.
I think that's okay, but it's the teacher that sees the kids every day.
So again, the benchmarks.
It's the teachers that teach our kids, and I understand that if they're absent a lot, they're not going to move forward, but we can account for that. But where are the kids? How are they growing? What are their needs? If you didn't learn your timetables, well, you can't. If you don't know your timetables by the time you're at the end of 3rd grade, you're going to fail every single math all along the way. That we know. So what are the accountability markers? Okay, we have benchmarks and so forth, but we really, as teachers, I taught teachers for 38 years, and I taught them that these are the behaviors, this is the evidence that show where the kids are and how they grow. And if they're not growing, then you have to tailor your instruction to that child's need or the group of children's needs, and so that they're successful. You're going to organize success. You're not going to organize failure. You're going to move towards organizing success.
Dr. Mitchell, can you provide us later on as what are the accountability measures that we're taking in the district?
Yeah,
To
absolutely.
help with that, so we can
Right.
continue
I'm
with
sorry
that.
to take more time, but I think it's real important.
We hear you and we agree and we acknowledge the request, Dr.
All right,
Flores. Thank you.
Thank you. And then we're going to go ahead and the next page for questions at the end of 22. Go ahead, proceed.
So I'm turning your attention to slide 18, board. This digs a little deeper into this body of work that we're presenting tonight. So the next two slides are performance gap analyses in ELA and math between racial and programmatic subgroup. So what we've attempted to do here in these next couple slides, board, is to summarize all that data in terms of how big are the gaps between our racial and programmatic subgroups. The purpose of a gap analysis is to provide more clarity and transparency about the performance between student groups. And so if you turn your attention to slide 19, this is a 3-year gap analysis between African Americans, EL only, EL and RFEP, and the district in ELA. As you can see, the achievement of both EL student groups as well as the African American student group are well below the district average in ELA. So this helps us to see in a one-page look or at-a-glance look about how deep our gaps are in achievement between our racial and programmatic subgroups. If you turn to the next slide, in 20, you'll see this is a 3-year gap analysis between African American, EL only, EL and RFEP, and the district in math. As you can see again, the achievement of EL only and African American student groups are far below the district average in math. So you can see we have significant work to do between, first of all, overall in math, and then particularly with those student groups.
Yeah, and one thing that you heard Dr. Mitchell say that I think is important, I'll ask him to spend just a second on it, is the new language. We're no longer using the language subgroup, we're using the language student groups. So can you maybe speak to that for just a moment, Dr.
Absolutely.
Mitchell?
So the state recently, and throughout the research later, recently moved from subgroup to student group, because sub actually means, sub par, sub under, and so it's a derogatory language, and so we've shifted to saying student groups when we previously have said subgroups. So you'll see us constantly saying student groups in lieu of subgroups, and so we have student groups that are racial and ethnic groups as well as programmatic, like special ed, homeless, that kind of thing. What I want to do now, if turn to slide 21, is that the board has asked for some specific information regarding student group performance at particular schools. I'm going to hand you out what Barbara is coming around now handing out is 5x5s that will show you graphically where our schools stand as it relates to the performance of student groups. And so we'll wait for a couple seconds for Barbara to get that around. And then I'll go through what each one is. And I think, and give you a couple minutes to glance at it, but certainly would love for you to spend some more time looking at it in private and be prepared to answer. We're able to answer any question that you have. So what you're looking at on page 1, if you could just stick with me for 1 second before you flip into the back. Page 1, our student group performance in ELA. So you'll see these are the large programmatic as well as racial subgroups across the district and where we landed. You'll see that for the yellow category where you see the majority of the student groups, district-wide ELA, African American, Hispanic, white, etc. Overall, we're performing at the low status, but we increased year over year. Does everybody see that? Page 2 is the student group performance in math. And you'll see that we did less well in math as it relates to our student groups. So the majority of our groups are performing at the low status and maintain, which means they grew or declined by 3 points or less. Page 3 is English Language Arts by African American student group. And you can see how spread out our achievement across our schools is. We have some really high performing schools that saw some increase or significantly increase as it relates to the African American student group. What we have here, though, are great examples of leadership and schools really making significant growth with African American students. So we have examples and we have models within our own district to really be able to explore and replicate across the district. These are all the test is over grades 3 to 8. So you'll see elementary and middle school. Yeah, with significant African American populations. Thank you, Bob. 45. how many middle schools? 10, 12? 12. Depends on what day of the week it is.
So no, Dr. Flores, are not. I think the key is that there's a significant student group of Africa. Is that
At
correct?
the schools.
And how many
Yeah.
how many does it take to make that number?
12% or more.
12% or more. Okay.
12. Oh, sorry. 12 students.
12 students.
Yes.
12 students.
So if they have 12 or more students,
more,
they're
they're
on
listed.
this list. Okay. If you look at page 4, that is math by African American student group. If you turn to page 5, that is English language arts by EL student group. And when I say EL, this is the accountability one. So it's EL only included with RFEP. It's not EL only, but we can provide that. We can provide that. And we will provide that, Dr. Flores. Yeah, absolutely. We're happy to do that. We always want to try to present you with the state's accountability model, but certainly from a local disaggregation, we want to provide how our EL students are doing. So we agree and we'll provide that as soon as possible. And then page 6, the last one is math, EL student group by school. And again, that's EL only and EL RFEP together. You'll see what where our district lands. Like for example, you'll see the district overall lands in the orange board. If you can look on page 6, just so I can make sure you're getting that. And that's for our district for EL students in math. Our district lands in the orange, which is a low status, and we maintained, meaning that we got 3 points. We grew or declined by 3 points or less. And you'll see you have middle schools as a group. Then you also see elementary schools as a group. And then each school broken out. And so board, so much data there. Certainly can't review it tonight, but wanted to get, I know the board is always interested in seeing where we're having the performance or declines across by school. And so why don't you take the week or two to study and review that, and be happy to answer any detailed questions as you have them. I'm turning to page 22, slide 22, and this is over the next 2 slides. We will review next steps to address the student group trends for EL students and African American students, student subgroups, starting with ELs.
Your page number is different than ours.
Oh, I
so then
apologize.
we're on page 21 in our,
yes.
and
Slide
then they're
21.
22.
Okay.
Yeah, I added a.
Are we going to ask questions later about this page?
Yes, it would be on the next page, after the next page.
Okay. So this is the EL next steps, and your slide 21, I apologize. So number 1, and this came out of the LCAP process, convene a broad-based district task force for Latino student achievement to conduct a study of district and school systems, parent and student perspectives, and related emergent educational research with the goal of accelerating the performance of non-English language learner Latino students. We'll get that up and running by January. Number 2, continue to implement the recommendations from a study of SBCUSD ELL programs conducted by Hanover Research for opportunities for improvements. This study included surveys of teachers, students, and administrators, as well as data analysis and school visits. The study also included a review of national best practices, and so we have that report. We've implemented aspects of the report. Our team is committed to revisiting that report and figuring out where we have some opportunities for improvement. Number 3, continue to implement what we know to be effective EL initiatives or action plans, including the multilingual and the long-term English learner LTEL action plans. Number 4, continue to provide training for elementary and secondary teachers in integrated and designated English language development, ELD, instruction to include the use of effective progress monitoring tools, including ELD portfolios, which have been highly effective for us, the test of English language learning, the TEL, and Barbara, you supported this, the use of the elevation data management system to monitor the progress and performance of our EL students. And then number 5, provide additional high school EL counselors. We've added 2 based on a recommendation from Dr. Flores. We appreciate that as well, which takes our total FTEs for ELL counselors at the high school to 3. Next slide. And this is a slide that we prepared of our recommendations to address African American student group performance. Number one is to continue to support the use of opportunity gap specialists. And so, as you remember, board, last year we created a teacher stipend or position at each of our TSSP schools to put what we call opportunity gap specialists that monitor the performance of African American students as a group at those particular schools. We're finding that based upon the 5x5 analyses that you're looking at, as well as the gap analyses that I just provided you, that some of our schools, our non-TSSP schools, are needing similar supports. Our intention is to expand that program of OGSs or opportunity gap specialists to non-TSSP schools, and we'll do that by December. Number two is we're going to continue to train, as you know, we contracted with the Lindsays last year, as well as a couple other groups teaching cultural proficiency. We'll continue to do that for all district managers to better serve our diverse students, families, and community. Number three, provide professional learning opportunities aligned to the recommendations outlined in the San Bernardino County Superintendent of Schools Task Force for African American Student Achievement. As you know, I was involved with that and facilitated that process. We conducted a task force study here in the district in 2014, and I conducted a similar one for the county schools, which was more robust because it involved 20 plus school districts, and so the report that came out of that were very telling, and we believe that implementing those is imperative in our district. Number four, we want to reconvene the district's Task Force for African American Student Achievement simultaneously to this Task Force for Latino Student Achievement. We believe that there's some work that we can do together, and then there's some targeted work that each task force should be tasked with. And so running those concurrently, feeding off of each other for the betterment of all of our students would be a benefit to the district. And then lastly, provide a quarterly data dashboard. So to the board members' points about dashboards, you can go to the CDE and go and drill down to any level of student data that you want. What our intention here is to really come up with a composite of key performance indicators that are academic and non-academic to really speak to the overall health of African American students at campuses, and provide that on a quarterly basis for schools, and require those schools to create what we call a data protocol, which means is an action plan developed contextual to that school that will meet the needs of those students at that particular school. Next slide. We'll pause here before we get into our principal speaker.
Yes, and we're going to start with Mr. Tillman. Oh, I'm sorry.
So
But we were doing the opposite end this way. Okay, yeah.
two questions for you. On page 5.
Yes.
With
Page
the
5.
color blocks.
Oh, okay. Got it.
And it shows that Roosevelt shows significant improvement.
Where's significant Roosevelt? Help me.
For ELA, EL, and for.
Oh, I see. It's in the green. Got it. Got it.
What was it about Roosevelt? Did they?
I couldn't answer that tonight, but again, this gives us the impetus to go ask that, because now we've disaggregated to where we're seeing great acceleration from some of our schools. We've asked Mr. Chavez tonight to share some of his strategies. We certainly will go back and ask a host of these school principals, and also share those practices in our site leaders meetings, in our collaboration meetings, our cluster meetings. And so again, this level of disaggregation allows us a more targeted action steps.
And only because I went to Roosevelt, they don't have 12 African American students there anymore.
So your school will be reflect. They don't.
Because they didn't show up on the.
Oh, they didn't show up on the African American 5x5. But we can get that data. But so that means they have less than. Oh, it's third grade. Oh, they only go to third grade, and the test is only 3rd through 8th. The school is only K3.
Oh, so it's only 3rd grade results.
Yeah.
And so that means they didn't have 12
Yeah.
African American 3rd graders.
Yeah. Thank.
Me and Gwen were the only one. I was playing.
All right. Is that all the questions, Mr. Tillman? So I can ask Ms. Rogers.
Yes.
I know, we were going to bring that up, Roosevelt.
So my question too was, it was along the same lines, but just knowing that the TSSP schools that we see that are doing these improvements, that we are collaborating and gaining that information, because again, I know we're going to see Richardson and Rodriguez at that level, and that's disturbing to me sometimes too, because I'm saying, what are they doing,
Right.
and why can't we just bring that across the board? I don't know. I probably will say that until I'm not able to say it anymore. But when I look at the ones that are and I want to let me say this, I want to applaud the progress that we are making. There has been some progress there, and so we build off of that, and that's pretty much what I'm listening to, and I'm appreciative to you also giving us what you're doing, because I don't believe, I mean, if we stayed here all night, we cannot come up with the solution. If we would, we'd come up, tell you, go do that tomorrow, and then everything will be great. But that's not happening. So we want to just ensure that what we are looking at is happening. So you talked about the OGSs, and I know that we brought those on last year, and it sounds like you said you're going to expand even more, because it makes sense. If when I look at where they are at certain schools, there's that progress that's there. They're there with those TSSP schools, and it's working. So that's then when I start asking the question, what type of funding, what do we need to increase that, versus saying just go do this and hope that it works out. It looks like that is working out. So I'm hoping that we also now begin to hear what is needed. Is it, if it's 12, if it's 2, if it's 20, what is the cost on that? So we can realize even triple, the results that we're seeing here, rather than just waiting to hear 3 there just because it was a good idea and it sounded good for me to say it. I don't want you to agree with me if I say 2 and we need 22. Right. Let's do that, because that has made an impact, and I'm glad to see that. And I'm glad to see that you, again, are letting us know things that you are doing versus us concentrating on what the numbers look like. Right. They are what they are. And then the last thing is the real time, because that's what's meaningful to me. As I said before, the D's and F's, talking about them at the end of the year does us no good. But if we are progress monitoring along the way, and those are the dashboards that are important to us, it's great to look and see what our neighbors are doing. That's nice. But we can't control that. What we're doing here, if we're able to look at some data along the way in the same fashion that we look at students, quarterly, semester, we're getting closer and closer to real time. And I'm appreciating that right now. And I want to let you guys know that that is important. But thank you for telling us what you are doing so we can give that. But if that is what we need to do, please let us know. Let us not just leave from this presentation saying we're going to implement, because I don't think I ever heard that OGSs were going to be increased in all the other conversations that we had around our funding. So we need to have that conversation.
First of all, thank you, Ms. Rogers, and we appreciate your comments. Just to address the budget question, what we'll go from here is we've said what we're going to do. We'll do an analysis of our available funding, where we can shift funding, and then if there's a request for additional funding, we'll certainly bring that to the board.
Okay,
All right, thank you. And then we're going to go ahead to Dr. Flores, because I missed. Oh, Dr. Hill, did you have something really quick?
Holding mine until the end, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, I have 4 quick comments and recommendations. On page 20, I know I'm reiterating this, but there's really red flags here. And I'm appreciative of, looking at the analysis of where we need to go and what we need to do. But if you look at our African-American kids are minus 96.2 in math. That is not good. And then you look at our EL only, they're also at 96.2. So there's big red flags there that we have to address. In terms of the EL and RFIP, I would be interesting to see if you just did the RFIPs where they would be at, not combining EL and RFIPs, because that isn't true. I would like to know what the RFIPs.
Be happy to provide it. So
Right.
what you have here is the combined.
Right, I know.
And so I hear you're
Because I think the
you're wanting the
RFIPs
RFIPs pulled out.
right,
Absolutely.
by themselves.
Got it.
That's number 1. Number 2, page 21, in terms of the District Task Force for Latino Student Achievement,
Yes.
it's just not for non-English language learners. but also for the English-speaking Latino students.
Got
Did
it.
I miss it, or is that
Yo,
included?
that's what I'm saying.
It's for both.
Yes.
For both. Okay, for all. All.
So what our
variations.
intention is, first of all, I think the committee will need to convene and make a decision about target audience.
Mhm.
I think there's a whole lot of overlap here. Just as with African American and special education, there's a whole lot of
Right.
overlap.
Right.
So we'll consider the initiatives in special ed
Right.
that have impact on African American and vice versa.
Right.
So I think Latino, EL, non-EL, RFEP, all that has to be in consideration.
Right.
We're throwing that out there, but my intention really is to convene the group and allow the group to make that decision
Right.
based upon our data.
What the needs are.
Absolutely.
Okay, and then on page 22, I'm really glad that we're reconvening the district's African American Task Force. That's really important because that they will keep us accountable in terms of where we're at. And I'm glad to see on number 5 that we're going to monitor and have formative assessments, right? In
Yes.
terms of tracking
Absolutely.
the achievement.
And we have them now.
Right.
Last year, we didn't get them into the board. This year, we have a system to make sure
Right.
we include them in every board presentation in your
Right.
KPI. So
And I
yes,
appreciate the 5x5
Yeah.
that you've provided for us. And Dr. Marsden, I have a recommendation. Dr. Mitchell, I asked for principal evaluators under each of the assistant superintendents.
Yes.
Yes.
So I was just thinking right now, it would be great to put the colors
Got
under each school for ELA, for math, and for EL, and for African American kids for the subgroups under each school.
It's a great
So that
suggestion.
we could see
Kind
all
of like
the
a little
different.
mini dashboard.
Yeah.
Have a mini dashboard, but under
Yeah.
each assistant superintendent and the schools that they oversee, so that we can have
Yeah, we
so that
can-
we can see, where, like Ms. Rogers says, where do we need to target?
Yeah.
Where do we need to target the funds and where do they need to go so that we can see it? Because this is just, it's great, but I want to see the individual ones and where they're at.
Great, thank you.
All right, thank you. And I believe Dr. White doesn't have any questions. So the last questions that we will have will be on page 27, which is at the end, and we're going to give Dr. Hill priority. So go ahead.
So we're excited, I'll move this over. We're excited this evening to have Luis Chavez join us from Holcomb Elementary. And as he comes up to the podium and gets ready, we're going to introduce him with his school data. And so we can see at Holcomb, they went in mathematics from a negative 57.5 to a negative 39.1 in this last year, with an 18.4 scale score growth overall. In English language arts, Holcomb moved from a negative 45.5 to a negative 23.8, with a 21.7 scale score point growth between those 2 years. As we also looked at Holcomb, we looked at a gap analysis for Holcomb. School-wide, students grew 29.9 scale score points between 2016 and 2018. Our African American student group grew 25.1 scale score points in English language arts in that same time period. And our English learner student group, and that's our English learners and RFEP for 1 to 4 years, grew 36.3 scale score points during that time. Holcomb's African American students are making strong gains, and the gap in performance between African American student group and all students at this point is 11.8 scale score points. The gap between the performance of all students at Holcomb and the English learner student group has been reduced to 0.5 of a scale score point in English language arts. In mathematics, Impressive gains as well between 2016 and 2018. School-wide, Holcomb students grew 42.8 scale score points. Our African American student group at Holcomb grew 42.7 scale score points. Our English learner student group, and that's our English learners plus RFEPs for 1 through 4 years, grew 42.9 scale score points. There's been significant growth in all three groups represented on the graph over the 2-year period. The gap between Holcomb's African American student group and all students is at 14.7 scale score points. And Holcomb English Learners student group is achieving above the school-wide group by 2.4 scale score points. So Mr. Chavez is here to tell us what they're doing at Holcomb.
Thank you. Well, good evening, Board President Rosales Medina and board members. Good evening, Dr. Marcin and cabinet members. Before I start with what we have done, I just want to remind you, I don't know if you know, but today is International Bosses Day. So I want to celebrate you and appreciate you as a bosses. So and also this afternoon, at the end of the day, when I was, after dismissal, my teachers gathered in my office, and they gave me something that was very, very impressive. So I am going to show it. This is a drawing that one of our, the daughter of one of our teachers, Mrs. Morris, that is here with us, just made for us. And it's really, really, really good. And it looks like me.
Yeah, it sure does.
It really does look like me.
Good job. Wow. That's nice.
That's very nice.
So it's going to be going in my office. But no, actually, it's our mascot. That is our mountain lion. It's our mountain lion. So it's a mountain lion. See where the mountain lions. I can bring it to you later and you can see it closer.
That's great.
Yeah, sure.
That's beautiful.
And it's signed by all the staff. And after singing the tune of Happy Birthday, Happy Bosses Day, they show a lot of appreciation. So I want to return back that. I have two of my members here, and Mrs. Buren, Mrs. Morris, and just to let them know that you are really, really appreciated for making us a great, great school. So thank you very much. And also, my other staff said they were going to be watching on YouTube, so we'll see. I'm going to ask tomorrow, but that's what I wanted to just make a pause to appreciate the staff and you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. My smile, yeah. All right. So while you look at myself and that, I'm going to start talking about what we believe that is the success at Holcomb. As you know, I'm Luis Chavez. I'm the head custodian at Bob Holcomb Elementary School, World School. Yes, I said head custodian because you and the parents at Holcomb have entrusted me with the task to take care and provide for more than 630 brilliant students and about 60 hardworking teachers and staff. I'm very proud to tell you that with the dedication and hard work of our students, staff, and teachers, we have created a school culture of success. At the Mountain Lion, then, we focus on success for all students. We teach our students that they are an integral part of our world community and help them to grow as productive members. We have a culture of high expectations for all. We learn who our students are and what they need to develop. We think, plan, and organize instruction and supports. We practice and instruct as planned, modifying instruction to meet the students' needs. We reflect on the outcomes and refine our strategies for student success. 6 years ago, we opened the school with a goal to become the first international baccalaureate primary years program in our district. After rigorous planning, extensive development of the program, and creating a culture for success, 4 years later, we became one of 67 elementary schools, public and private, in the state of California, and the first one in our district to be authorized as an IB-PYP World School. For the last 2 years, the collaboration and efforts from students, parents, teachers, and staff have shown how this program can help our students to grow personally and perform academically. The IB-PYP program focuses on the whole child. We started by teaching and expecting students to become IB scholars, developing the learners' profiles and attitudes. Teachers worked collaboratively to develop curriculum based on student interest and concept development, encouraging students to be curious about what they learn and make connections within the different subjects. We develop in our students the importance of taking responsibility of their own learning and behavior. With positive behavior strategies, students learn, act, and reflect on everything they do in school to learn and improve. Students, with their teachers' guidance, set goals, monitor their own learning and growth, and act with what they learn to resolve problems in their communities and the world. Students develop critical thinking skills to explore, create, and resolve common problems connected to their lives. We were able to develop a culture of collaboration through intentionally creating a system of grade-level teacher collaboration time. Every week, teachers collaborate to organize a curriculum in transdisciplinary themes, integrating student interest with the common core standards, following the district's scope and sequence. They create learning experiences developing content through inquiry, concept, project-based learning activities. They look for resources and prepare lessons to facilitate student development. They develop assessments and analyze results. They reflect on the outcomes and modify the instruction to meet the needs of students. This system has provided the teachers with the time to learn, plan, practice, reflect, and refine the instruction in the classrooms. While teachers collaborate weekly, all students by grade are provided with physical education, Spanish, and arts instruction, plus library and computer time, supported by specialists. Providing students with diverse approaches and opportunities to learn has opened their minds to different perspectives and opportunities to develop different talents. When teachers have time to plan and organize the instruction in collaboration with their colleagues, they create rigorous learning opportunities for students to apply what they know and discover new concepts. Students are encouraged to work with other students, collaborating and interacting to deepen their learning. Everyone contributes and enriches the process by incorporating their own experiences and knowledge. We believe in facilitating and providing for student learning without separating them by ethnicity, gender, or English proficiency. Teachers know their students, and they know their students' abilities and provide support to promote their growth. We establish an intervention and enrichment block to support students at their ability level in reading and writing. Students are grouped homogeneously to provide reading development skills at their level. We provide testing preparation skills by using test practice opportunities during everyday instruction or working on interim assessments for CASP, CELT, TELT, and LPAC. Exposing students to how questions are asked or what performance tasks are requesting, and allowing them to work individually or in small or whole group provides them with tools and confidence. At both Holcomb, we have had the opportunity to have consistent focus developing as a world school. We have been developing an instructional program in which teachers learn about their students and strategies that promote success. We have had the opportunity to plan and organize effective transdisciplinary instruction based on students' interests and needs. We have been able to facilitate learning practices created collaboratively. We have had the opportunity to reflect and analyze the outcomes to refine and rethink teaching strategies and learning opportunities for students. We have had the opportunity to create a professional instructional plan, creating a culture where students have the chance to succeed. At this point in our development as a world school, we know that we have progressed with positive results for our students. But we also know that our work is not done. And we will continue to look for additional ways to refine our teaching practices to grow and improve. I just want to thank you, and thank you for your support for making hope happen every day at Holcomb. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. And I'll go ahead and Dr. Mitchell, if you can.
All right. Thank you. I'd like to close this out. Board, thank you, Mr. Chavez. That was inspiring.
Can we ask Mr. Chavez questions?
Yeah, I'm going to close. I'm just
hold on.
Yes.
So if we can close really quickly, if you can stay there for a little bit, if you don't mind. Go ahead, Dr. Mitchell.
Thank you very much. So we're proud of Mr. Chavez, and he's just one of our many principals that have led their school teams to achieving amazing outcomes for kids. We're so proud of Mr. Chavez, as well as all of our principals, for being the best at getting better. In closing, I want to thank Barbara Richardson and her team for unearthing the data that allows us, that guides our work, and all the different layers. And I tell you, Barbara and I have been working all through the weekend and all through the week and up to an hour before the board meeting, really refining our presentation to you, picking the right data sets to show you, challenging our work and our thoughts about this approach. And so I'm just so appreciative of Barbara and her team and the work that she's done. And so with that, board, I'd be happy to take questions or comments. Thank
And
you
before
very
you
much.
go, Mr. Tillman, I want to pass it first to Dr. Hill, who has been waiting patiently until the end of the report to ask some questions and make her concerns.
Thank you, Dr. Mitchell, Ms. Richardson, your team, Mr. Chavez. Thank you so much. Really appreciate the presentation tonight. And Mr. Chavez, I just want to share with you thanks to you and your staff, because whenever I've gone on your campus, I have felt what you shared tonight, the love, the confidence, the success with your students. And it's obvious that it's there. So to your staff members who are here, I want to say thank you so much for all that you've done. But what I read mostly in what you were talking about tonight was changing that mindset that students know they can do. And when students hear from us, especially as professional adults, that we can, they will. And I think that's the story we need to tell. And I'm hoping that is occurring at other schools. And if not tonight, it will be beginning tomorrow. So I just want to say thank you for building that confidence. And I heard you, I didn't hear you mention too much about teaching, but I heard you mention a lot about coaching. And I think that's the success. And we have to remember, if we want different results, we have to do different things, and we have to say different things, because it's the same with us, and with us as teachers, administrators, et cetera. So I just want to thank you for that. And then Dr. Mitchell and your team, I want to first say I appreciate the gains we made, and I agree with everybody else. It's not looking good, but it's looking better. And we know it can get there because we are making gains. It's not going to happen overnight. And we know when we are dealing with 3rd through 8th graders, majority of those are elementary teachers, and elementary teachers do not always know a whole lot of math. It's just not a part of that curriculum, and it's no fault of their own. It's just the way the system is set up. So we need to do something about changing the system. And so the rest of what I have are questions that you might have an answer to, and you might not. But I just want to know what is happening at each site. Are people doing different things at different sites? Are people still working on their own? Or is there some type of strategy that is given to everybody, not to necessarily do everything in unison, but at least give some ideas? And my other concern is with Redlands and Riverside meeting their standards. Have we visited those schools? Because they have some of the same populations we have. They have the English learners. They also have a number of African Americans. They have a number of low socioeconomic. So what's happening in those schools that's similar to ours? And will our principals get an opportunity to visit some of those similar schools to see what they're doing to get better results? And I wanted to know, which I'm really frustrated with this one, with our English learners, you know, how do you expect me to get my driver's license driving a stick shift when I drive it automatic all year long? And that's what's happening with our English language students. If they're learning in English language and they're taking a test in English, I'm not saying we need to necessarily do a Spanish test, but I am saying there should be something there for those students to feel success, because as long as they do not feel success, then they're going to continue to do poorly, because it's really the expectation, and they know it's not going to get any better. We know it's not going to be getting any better. And do we have any math specialists? And I think I picked that up. I might have written this too soon, but my concern was math specialists for the elementary teachers to go in and work with all students, not just English learners and African Americans, but 100% of the students in the elementary schools. And are we looking at some type of collaboration with San Bernardino Valley College and Cal State, maybe even University of Redlands, the math majors, to have them earn electives by coming over, assisting with students in grades 3 through 8? And it would be interesting also, and I don't want to put more work on your plate, I'm always interested in students who come to school on a regular basis. What is their test score in compared to those who are missing a lot?
Got it.
You know, if one day you get around to it, would be good to know. And do we need to focus more on, again, more math specialists? If the problem with math is our elementary teachers are not specialists there, and we always talk about what you need to know by 3rd or 4th grade, it seems to me the scores, the test scores, are probably lowered by more students in grades 3 through 6 than 6, 7, 8. Right. I'm assuming that. I don't know what we can do to fix that, but maybe we need to take a look at putting more math specialists. And some, as we talk about our work with the workforce investment and our students, perhaps we have some students who are just absolutely excellent. I think it'd be wonderful to give them jobs working in these schools, helping our young, not only helping the teachers, but also helping the students. And my last point is, if we need more money, please ask for it. I don't know if money is the solution, people the solution, other strategies the solution, but what we're working on now, we're moving in the right direction, so we're doing some things right. But should we be moving faster than we are at this point? Should we see a growth of 3, 4, 5 points instead of the 1 and 2? 1 and 2, you know, again, you're still moving down the road, but you need to pick up some speed if we can. Absolutely. If we can't, then we need to live with what we have. But I hate to say a lot, because in my 7 years, you know, I'm not a great supporter of test scores. I think we should teach students, not tests. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Hill. I have answers for much of your questions, but what I'll do in the interest of time is put those in a BC for you.
I appreciate
All right, thank you so much,
Thank
and I thank you, Mr. Chavez, for being so patient way there, but I just wanted to move along with the board comments. And Dr. Wyatt, if we can start with you, and then we're going to move around this way. If you have none, then that's okay. We can move towards Dr. Flores.
Yes, Mr. Chavez and teachers, I really want to commend you because what you've done is develop a culture, and it shows that you really love each other and you care for each other, and you've built that. But not only that, you tapped into, I heard, the kids' curiosity, your interests. And we know that project-based learning really inspires learning. And it's not just the old mundane, take out a book and read it and so forth. But kids are reading for real reasons, right? They're reporting. You've integrated art. You've integrated music. PE. I mean, that's healthy. That is inspiring, not just to the kids, but to you, right? Because it's. I mean, every day, what are they going to learn? What am I going to learn? And that's really important. So I could feel that in your, and the byproduct of that is a score. When kids can read, they're excited about reading and learning, and teachers are excited about teaching and learning. The byproduct is higher scores, and that's and everyone feels like they're loved. So you guys have done that, and I think it looks like that in your school. And I wonder, what Dr. Hill says. We have other schools that we have different ways of what it looks like, and I don't know if Dr. Mitchell, our schools are sharing with each other. Our teachers are sharing with each other. We don't give them time. I always talk about tired time, teacher tired time. We don't allow or build into our schedule for that sharing to happen across schools, across time. I wonder if we could innovate and provide, think out of the box and try to share among schools. Where teachers come, teachers go, but you have quality time to really, really share over time. So I thank you so much. Yeah, and I love your the portrait of you and so forth. And your daughter's very talented. Yeah, so thank you so much. Yeah.
All right, thank you for your comments, Ms. Rogers.
Thank you, Mr. Chavez. You did a great job, as always. I know your school is always reaching out for support, and that collaboration is important, as well as taking the students up and connecting them to high school at that level, I think is great. So, and I can also appreciate that you didn't say we need a fancy PowerPoint to say the facts are there and they speak for themselves. It aligns with what the results were. So I truly appreciate that. And again, Dr. Mitchell and your staff, I appreciate your presentation. Just a couple of things that I wanted to ask was, I know we do the testing is 3 through 8th, and then in the next time, is it in 11th grade? Or that's when we do it again, right? So when do we or will we see what we're doing, after the 8th grade again? Is that something that's going to come back in the future? Because all the good work that takes place or what's happening here again, how soon will we see and know that? What is this thing over here by me?
Mrs. Rogers,
Yeah.
in December, when the dashboards are released,
Okay.
we will have the information on the 11th grade testing.
Okay, good.
It is part of the college and career indicator.
Okay, so it'll be coming back to us then. Thank you. And then lastly, thinking back to when you spoke about the supports that we're getting and receiving from UCLA, you said is that every teacher or all of our teachers?
It's every secondary teacher in mathematics.
Every secondary. Okay, thank you. Those were my comments.
All right, Mr. Tillman, thank you waiting for patiently.
And thank you, Mr. Chair, for your presentation. In terms of the IB program, are there additional resources that come with that? Are there extra staff or?
Yes, and we are provided with half of a coordinator, that is a coordinator that coordinates the whole program, and the collaboration on teachers, and we have supports with a Spanish teacher that is provided by the
Just so I'm clear, you said collaboration of teachers or?
Yeah, you remember that I talked about how we have a culture of collaboration where I created a schedule where teachers collaborate at their grade level. So our coordinator is the one who coordinates that.
And there's the collaboration.
Let me clarify, Mr. Tillman. So he has extra resources, so his teachers have more planning time and collaboration time than our other schools.
And define resource for me.
So we've given him, how do we do that?
We have half of the program facilitator and a Spanish teacher and professional development.
So that he also has been very innovative with his schedule, creating more time per week for teachers by using the PE teacher,
PE teacher, yes, and computer lab and library.
So how much money is actually associated with the IB program?
I'd have to get back to you on the exact amount, but we do fund from the district level a Spanish teacher because the foreign language is required as part of the IB, and then we fund a staff member fully released so that they can coordinate the IB. Other than that,
it's professional development only.
I'd have to give you that dollar amount, but that's
yes.
in general what we have extra at Holcomb because of the IB program.
And it's in coordination just with secondary education because that's what they started the IB program.
Yeah, and I only say that because we may have stumbled onto something that would help other schools benefit in the same way. And there's a cost associated with it.
Yes.
But I'd like to know what that cost is, and that way we might find that as a tool to benefit other schools also.
Sure.
I understand that part of it is the process that you built also, but what I don't like to do is take for granted the additional resource that we're paying for
Yes.
that might help other schools also. A lot of times it's not fair to some of the other schools that don't have the additional resources, but they're still compared at the same level. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But I think what you guys have done is a great job. Is Holcomb the only school that has the elementary IB?
Yes.
Yes.
It's the first and only elementary school,
That's what I thought.
and as Mr. Chavez said, he's one of 67 in the state.
So I'd love to see what the
Dollars.
are, and then maybe even if we look at it, even look at some of the other elementary IB programs at the other districts to see if they're getting the same level of success.
Yeah.
Because that might be something you want to invest in. It might be worth making a whole bunch more of schools IB. Sure.
It's a great recommendation, Mr. Tillman. We'd be happy to do that.
Thank you. So thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate it, and congratulations to you and your school.
Thank you.
And then on I'm all for the African American. You said reestablishing the task force. I never knew it went away, but I know even the stuff that we're doing with Mr. Charles Brown and the targeted instruction. I just hope that the district finds a way to ensure that we're funding them at the right level too. I mean, when you look at the state of African American students, to me, it's not a good thing that I don't get the feedback from the folks that are participating in the work that Mr. Brown is doing, that they feel confident that they're being funded at an adequate level. And it means a whole lot more to me when I get feedback from the regular folks that's dealing with it, and they say, hey, we feel like there's an investment there. I don't feel that way right now. And to me, it's a real problem. We need to get to a point where we created the position for a reason,
Right.
and we need to fund it. And I don't think that we're funding the position at an adequate level. And I really think it's not a good thing when you look at the needs for those students. So I don't know how to get the district to get to a point where, it's done the way that I think it should be funded. I talked to folks over and over and over again, and it's obvious that they don't have the funding available to them to be creative and find ways to benefit the students that they're supposed to be servicing. And without the resources, they can't do it. So I'm all for doing reconvening the task force, although I thought the task force never went away. But I definitely think we need to fully fund Mr. Brown's program, and we got to build the confidence amongst our folks that are participating that we care about that program and we create it for a reason, and we're going to make sure that it has the resources to help the students.
Thank you, Mr. Tillman. We will certainly do that.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. And Dr. Marsden, you have a couple.
Well, I just want to thank all of our principals that are out here in the audience tonight. They are all doing this work every day, and I look across the room, and we have some exceptional leaders doing some exceptional work, and we're very proud of all of you. Your colleague here, Luis, you did a great job tonight. What you've commented on, we've all seen evidences of that among our high-performing schools where they have built and established a culture of high expectations. You made a comment about learning who our students are. What I've observed is when staff really does take the time to get to know who their children are, know their families, get out in the community that they serve, and understand the barriers and challenges they face, that starts to change the game. And you're doing that. Your system of grade level collaboration, your teammates sitting back here giving each other fist bumps, those are indicative of a team that really is got their heads and hearts in the right place to do the right kind of work in the right kind of way. The idea of your integrating student interest, not too many people pay attention to what is it the kid is interested and talented in doing, and how do we help them take advantage of that interest and talent through, as you described it, project-based learning. And you talked about rigor, and really good first instruction is what I heard. You have that solid system built, and board, I've said it many times, I'll say it till I leave here one day, that it is the leadership capacity at the site level that makes the fundamental difference, and it is the instructional leadership capacity that gets the results. And so thank you for not only creating a culture that is excellent, but creating a culture toward results. So thank you. Thank you all to all of our leaders here. Dr. Mitchell, thank you for your leadership and work. Ms. Richardson, thank you so much for all that you've done. A lot of hard work behind the scenes. You make this look easy, and we know it's not, so thank you.
All right, thank you so much, everyone, for your presentation, for everyone that stayed here. Also, thank you for your patience. It's always vital for us to ask the questions that is on our mind, because I know many of the audiences are probably asking the same question. So thank you so much. It is 8:45, and now we're moving to 8.0, reports and comments. 8.1, reports by San Bernardino Teachers Association. No? Okay, we're going to 8.2, report by California School Employees Association.
I believe Mr. Simpson is not here tonight. He said
Okay.
he was not going to be here.
So 8.3, report by Communication Workers of America.
No report.
Okay, 8.4, report by San Bernardino School Police Officers Association.
No report.
No report. Okay, now 8.5, comments by board members, and I will go ahead and, since we started the last time with Dr. White, we're going to start with Mr. Tillman. If you have any board comments? No? Mr. Rogers? Ms. Rogers?
I do have board comment. And I know that they're talking to district staff, but I did talk to somebody from Options for Youth, I think it is. But they said that they might be able to offer us the ability to offer summer school at some of our campuses, and be able to provide because their school starts July 1, then we could send some of our schools to our own campuses, and we pick the subjects, and they could earn like 10 credits. But because their school starts earlier, we could run our students through their program, and it would pay for summer school at some of our sites. So I know that I talked to Ms. Christakis, and so they're going to start the conversation, but I definitely would like to hear something back in terms of whether or not it's something that's actually possible, because summer school, as much summer school as possible for our students, I think would be a great thing, because it would help a lot more students graduate, and help a whole lot more students complete some of the units that they don't pass. So I'd love to hear something back about it.
Ms. Rogers?
And that's good too, because I know my son went to get his the driver's ed out of the way in the summertime there, so he didn't have to take time away.
That's a good example.
I want to also, first I wanted to acknowledge that I did get an opportunity to go to Jade's memorial service along with the district staff that was there. That was great. And so one thing they did say, which I thought was in their time of need, they were even thinking about other students, and they said that they are doing a memorial scholarship in her name for a Pacific student. It started at $1,500 is what they designated for the class of 2022. So I thought that was just beautiful for them, you know, and it was very overwhelming mourning, but, you know, they got through it as a family, and they really, our community came together, our school community all came together, and it was a beautiful service. So I wanted to share that with you all. Also wanted to share that my first experience with Haku was great. It was just absolutely wonderful, because while I thought that, even though I almost missed my flight, that I was going alone because everyone else was at another conference and I kept seeing you guys were elsewhere. At the end of the day, I realized that we had staff there. We had people from the community there. I didn't see them because I was running, getting on the plane. But Dr. Fonches and Sandra, they did a great job down there recruiting. We also, our collaborative partner, San Bernardino Valley College, had students, and it's my understanding that Cal State San Bernardino also was there, and Dr. Morales, but that Cal State brings the most students there, and those students were there, and once they identified who we were, we did have a great conversation, and they're actually going to be looking at, HSIs, so which is Hispanic Serving Institutions, but they're looking at them for K through 12. We are designated. I know they were talking about the names, and Frank was talking to me about it, but they were talking about more. And when they said 25%, I said, I know we qualify for that. But that was great. Yeah. That was great. And so I appreciate all of you that said, you know, I should go. It was great. And I'm just hearing also what they want to do, some of the presenters for the relationships with the colleges is encouraging the 15 credits to finish, which gets our students on task versus getting in there, taking one class or two classes and then taking 5 and 6 years and they ultimately drop out. So I'm sure we'll be a part of that conversation in the future. And I thought that was great. Also, I had an opportunity to be there for Chief Polino's Who's Award, and that was great. And so congratulations to you. I know Dr. Marsden will probably mention it again, but I also want to mention that in particular because he had the cadets there and they had a great time. We had 2 tables, and I say that because in our 2 tables, they almost overlooked that in our, when they were talking about who had sponsored tables. And of course, you know, I had to defend our district and say, wait a minute, you forgot about us. But it was great to see the youth there because they were having a great time. And I think that's always important that when we can have our youth there, that's how they learn. And that's how they see things way before we wait later. And then we want to make all the corrections. So they did a great job there. And then lastly, I wanted to mention that on the report, and we'll get to it again, when I spoke about the counselor's report, it's on there as a report. And what I don't want us to do is just make it a report out, or it's just a reporting of. My concern was after the presentation and all of the information that we have been hearing about counselors, we want to really, I don't know if we're going to call it a strategic plan or is that what we need to do, but where we're really working with the counselors to support them and change whatever has been happening right now. There does seem to be a disconnect or have been a disconnect. So I hope we're looking at that as a strategic plan and not just on the documentation as a report, and then we're going to hear what they're doing and what, you know, it's the same approach when I talked about the D's and F's forever, this is really a serious, not just hear about what they're doing, but this is a plan and whatever we need to put behind that. So just as Dr. Flores discovered, okay, we need 2 additional counselors. That's great and wonderful. I'm glad you can do that. But when we look at the big picture, don't we need to do something across the board? And then that way we don't have to do those things piecemeal here and there. So please let us reevaluate that. I know it's on the report. I mentioned this last time as changing it from being a report. That's why I'm saying that. I don't want to report out of it. I think we need to do some revamping and look at what we are doing in the counseling department. Okay, Thank you.
All right, thank you. Dr. Hill?
Thank you, Madam President. First, I just want to share what a great day we had for the Clean Air Day at Enea Roberts School. It was the first California Clean Air Day, and we got a chance to participate in that. And our president, Ms. Medina, was there to give kind words, and we watched the students as they took their pledges. I also, along with Ms. Rogers, attended the assembly they held at Pacific High School on the field for Jade. Very well done. Students were just amazing. So much compassion as they released their balloons. I also want to share that I only took a photo with the Pacific cheerleaders during the Believe Walk. You know, I have a team, in case you didn't know, for next year. It's called Team Margaret. You can go online, make your donations. And so I show up every year, and I do a little bit of walking, but not that much. But I was so proud to be there with the Pacific High School cheerleaders. I attended the Chavez Middle School furniture unveiling in one of the 4 classrooms, that new furniture that you raised the desk. Oh, just so neat. I hope we can get those in all the schools. It's really just outstanding. I want to take this time to congratulate Linda Bardere and her staff of printers, those designing as well as those doing the printing, because when I got a call asking for business-sized cards of the counselor who passed away, she had a favorite saying, which was, throw love like confetti. And they gave those to the students to just bring some closure to what had happened on that campus, and to give them the empowerment to look forward and know greater things would be ahead. And overall, I just want to say thanks to Cabinet and staff. You do a lot. We ask you to do a lot. I don't know if you sometimes want to say no to us, but you don't, and we appreciate that. And just want you to know how much we appreciate you and the good work you are doing. Thank you.
All right, Dr. Flores.
Dr. Hill, they can't say no. I have a few things to share. First of all, we had a very successful California Latino School Boards Association. It was so great. Our colleagues, well, first I want to thank President Medina. She was on a panel, Women of Power. We had 4 school board presidents, Latinas, that came, and you did marvelous, by the way. You did really, really great, and she represented us well, and it was spectacular. Yeah, I really like. And then we had 2 students, and we had parents, Miss Loeta, Miss Alba. Miss Loeta's daughter, Catarina's son came, and they presented to a big group, and the kids did so well. Oh my God, these are really shy kids. And one of the young man, special needs, and no one knew that he was special needs. That's what was powerful. It was so powerful what he had to say about the SLIC program. And anyway, it was really great. And we had our scholars from Cal State. We had Dr. Clay from our community. We had Dr. Luke from Cal State, Dr. Greer from Cal State present their research on families. So I was very grateful for them to come and present. And so San Bernardino was well represented. So I just wanted to share that. And then to Cabinet, thank you for your board correspondences. Dr. Mitchell, thank you for providing the update on all the pathways and the money that they have. Yeah, and I really appreciate that, because at the conference, IB, IBWE or IBEW. I forget which way it goes.
IBEW.
That's the electricians.
Mhm.
They really want to partner with us, and they have so many programs. For our kids to work through to get jobs. I think we really need to connect with them. I'll provide the name of the head guy that was there, and so that we can connect. But they, out of the, our kids can be apprentices and then get jobs, and they start at 42, 44,000 with a high school diploma, and they're they're craftsmen or craftswomen. And then my question is, I know that we allocated around $830 or $13,000 more for career pathways and the academies. So I just wanted to know, how will it be distributed and and based on what criteria? So I'm just curious about that. I also want to thank you, Dr. Mitchell, for providing the charter school, what is this? The charter school renewal process and so forth. I'm just curious about the periodic criteria, the audits. He's not listening.
He was.
No, I was just saying that I wanted to know and was curious about the periodic audit criteria. And how for charters and what is it? I mean, I know that we have quite a few charters, and I know by law we have to conduct audits of based on 15 or 16 criteria of their robustness and if they are meeting the needs of our students and so forth. I'm just curious about, do we have a manual for that?
Yes, we do. First of all, the 5-year renewals, they go through that whole process again.
Right. No, I'm not talking about that. These are the yearly audits.
Annual pieces.
These are the yearly audits. I
I
think we do 1 or 2 during the year.
Right. I don't have that information on me. Let me get back to you on that.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you.
All right. I think that they have to be monitored, and I don't know if we're doing that because we haven't gotten reports. So I would like to see that. And also I'd like to thank Dr. Perez for the updates on bullying, and I think it's really, really important. Yesterday, Dr. Wyatt, President Medina, and myself met with Dr. Marsden and Dr. Volkemer and Dr. Perez and Linda Bardier and Chief Paulino regarding the review of policy for bullying and sexual misconduct and harassment. So just wanted the board to know that that's what we're doing. Then one last thing, President Medina, I want to agendize the district-wide mariachi. It's been 3 years that I've been asking for that. I want it agendized so that we can allocate funds, so that we can move on it, because 3 years of analysis is enough. And so I request that.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Any board in disagreement with that? If not, we can go ahead and put that on the agenda.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And then Dr. Wyatt? No comments? I'll be brief. Honestly, I wanted to say I enjoyed being at the Who's Award, especially with seeing our very own Chief Paulino receive an award there. And it was amazing just to see the amount of work and how much impact you're, not only in San Bernardino, but within other districts as well. You're setting the example. So congratulations on that. Of course, I was at the Clean Air Day. It was great to see so many students pledging on making sure that we're providing a clean air. This was their first annual doing that. And then, of course, at the California Latino School Boards Association, I was really nervous. I took my mom and my sister with me, and it was, I grew up very shy and very quiet, didn't really speak much, and for them to see me in a different role, it was really nice. And that was the first time they really got to experience me talking in public. And they were shocked that I even did that. So it was really nice having them there. They enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. Thank you so much for having us. They're the California Latino School Boards Association. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and move to 8.6, comments by superintendent and staff members. Dr. Marsden?
Thank you very much, Madam President. And so just a couple things. One, echoing the congratulations to our own Chief Paulino. He does stand out among his peers, and we're grateful, very grateful to have him on our team and his contribution to continuing to make our district safer and safer and serving young people as a model. And so we're grateful. An update on Lancashire as a follow-up to the racially motivated incident that occurred at Lancashire Elementary School. Our team has launched, as you know, Board, an independent third-party investigation in partnership with the FBI, and additional parent informational meetings are being held this week as well. And as Dr. Flores mentioned, the Board Policy Subcommittee is currently reviewing existing policies regarding conduct, hate crimes, discrimination, and we plan to bring a first reading of revised policies for the November 6th board meeting. So we'll be working on that here immediately. It is the commitment of the board and me that this behavior will not be tolerated in our district, and we're actively pursuing efforts to find the individual responsible, and as I had mentioned before, to prosecute and terminate them. And we'll continue to be on that trajectory through this process. Regarding pedestrian safety, we all remember the dear life of Jade and the grief that the school and community and family has all experienced. Last week, I was in a meeting that held with our city partners, city engineers, our city manager, discussing pedestrian safety and concerns throughout the city of San Bernardino and developing best solutions. And so district staff is planning a safety committee meeting. We'll bring all these leaders together with our families as well, and to review pedestrian safety needs, not just for Pacific, but for all of our schools. Board, also want to make you aware that I did meet with Sierra High School to dispel rumors with the staff last week to share that there has been no district decision made regarding the Arrowhead Grove project as it relates to Sierra High School and Neil Roberts, and explain that any decisions that are made would be made in this room by this board. And so we'll continue to bring you updates and information as that develops. And then it was mentioned during tonight's meeting as a strategy to grow and learn around our performance is to get our teachers into other teachers' classrooms that are having success. And I want to thank Dr. Mitchell. Under his leadership, we had 75 principals, that's all of our principals, 150 teachers participate in 2 full days of instructional rounds facilitated by the author of the work, Dr. Richard Elmer, who has retired out of Harvard. And he made no small illustration that he can go anywhere in the world to work, and he has chosen to work with us because of the vision, the mission, the focus that we have. And we're so grateful he's a part of that. I want to thank Dr. Lorraine Perez for hosting our first wellness symposium, well attended. I'm sorry I couldn't attend it. I was with my son in Colorado looking at a college for him and with him. But the first day was focused on students, and the second day was geared toward parents and community members. And so thank you, Dr. Perez, for your leadership on that, as well as the team that joined you in that. Board, our fall joint board meeting, as a reminder, that conference will occur in Riverside County. San Bernardino County Schools Association take place on Monday, October 29th at 5 p.m. Please make sure you confirm your attendance with Karen by October 24th. And then board, the December 4th meeting to comply the Education Code requirement for the scheduling of the annual organizational meeting. We need to change that meeting from the 4th to December 11th. So board, I wanted to see if I could get your consensus to make that change, moving the December 4th meeting to December 11. So Dr. Hill, I just need your consensus to see if you could be available. I'm looking across the dais. Where we would move it from the 4th, so we'd not have it on the 4th, and we would instead have it on the 11th so that we meet the time frame requirements by law. No, you would not have the 4th. You would have just the 11th, and I don't know that we have another meeting in December. It would just be just that meeting. Yeah, just that meeting. Dr. Flores, thank you. Dr. Wyatt says yes. Ms. Rogers, Mr. Tillman? It would move from the 4th to the 11th. Is that doable for you, Mr. Tillman? Okay. And Ms. Medina?
Yes, that's
Ms.
fine.
Rosales Medina,
Okay.
thank you. And then I also had a chance, congratulations to our students that participated in last week's Latino History Bee. Thank you to the coordinators of this event and the folks who created that event. So we're so grateful. Also want to congratulate Arroyo Valley High School teacher Laura Gallardo for being selected by the San Bernardino County Superintendent of Schools as the San Bernardino County Teacher of the Year. This is a great honor and demonstrates the fantastic work of our teachers. Great work, Miss Gallardo, and thank you for all you do for students. You know, by the way, I had a chance to sit with her in her grade level meeting, and she is an incredible leader. So we have, as you said, a dynamo. I want to also congratulate Dr. Mitchell. I received in my office today a letter from Dr. Tomas Morales thanking him for his efforts to lead the African American recruitment and retention task force efforts, and I wanted to share that with you, board. It's always, I think, important to share compliments when we receive them from community leaders, and we want to compliment Dr. Mitchell with that recognition. I think Dr. Morales is sending you a free pen, if I understand. Dr. Hill, congratulations on your recognition. In closing, I'd like to congratulate her for being selected as a recipient of the Bonnie Newman Award at this year's Community Action Project Gala earlier this month. Congratulations, Dr. Hill, and thank you for your leadership, continued support.
All right, thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and move to, give me a sec, 9.0 consent calendar before we order. Let's go ahead and vote and then we'll pull some items. Can I have, okay. Is there a second? Okay. Any discussion on items that needs to be pulled?
Yes, I have two. If we could pull item 9.2 for revision, and I want to add, and then on 9.13, I know Ms. Rogers will be abstaining as she is part of the 9.2 and then 9.13.
Okay.
And I would like to pull 9.1 because I have a correction on the
Okay.
minutes.
And then which one?
9.1.
Oh, that was it? Okay.
No. You're pulling 9.1?
Yes, I have
Okay,
a correction
I got it.
on the
Okay,
minutes.
sure.
Mhm.
Fantastic.
All right, and then anybody else? If not, let's go ahead and call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Okay, 9.1?
Yes. Karen, are you at your, okay, it's on page 6 of the minutes. And it's the third line. And the name of the ASB Royal ASB director is Stephanie Limon, Limon, not Stephanie Vaughn. It's Stephanie Limon.
Okay, thank you for that change, Dr. Flores. Thank you.
Okay, and that's my only correction.
Thank you.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Seeing none, let's go ahead and call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Okay, motion carried. 9.2.
Yes, so thank you. Given that Mr. Gallo is also not able to attend this meeting, we'd like to modify, we'd recommend modifying the item to read October 2nd and October 16th for item 9.2, board.
Okay.
So moved.
Any discussion? And Mr. Gallo is not here. He's still recovering, so he's, I don't even know how much I can say.
He'll be hobbling back in someday
Yes.
soon, I'm sure.
Yes. And, okay, let's call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say nay. Okay, motion carried. And that is for 9.2, compensation for school board member. 9.13.
Yeah,
Who
and
is
we'll
that?
have, Ms. Rogers is exiting the room,
Okay.
and then the board will consider item 9.13, where Ms. Rogers is the founder and serves with this nonprofit in the community, and so she wanted to recuse herself since there would be a conflict of interest.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, let's go ahead and call for the vote. Oh, wait, before I call for the vote, 1.3, agreement with Young Women Empowering Foundation, San Bernardino, California, to provide the Empowered to Excel program to students at Arroyo Valley High School. Okay, let's go ahead and call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion carried. So now we're going to, Give me a second so I can go to the action items.
No, we have to approve did we approve all the consent calendar?
Yes.
Oh, we did?
Yeah, we did.
Yep.
Beginning.
Yeah, we did?
We're
Okay.
fast, we're good. Okay, so 10.1, personnel report, number 8, dated October 16, 2018. Dr. Wiseman.
As presented.
Okay, any board discussion? Well, I need a motion.
So moved.
Okay, any discussion? If not, let's go ahead and call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Okay, motion carried. And it's be it resolved that that the personnel report number 18, dated October 16, 2018, be approved as presented. 10.2, board on ongoing initiatives. I need a motion. Okay, any discussion? If not, let's go ahead and call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. All opposed say nay. Motion carried. 10.3, board top 10. Any discussion? If not, let's go ahead and call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. All opposed say nay. Okay, motion carried. 10.4, board request follow-up. Okay, any discussion? Hearing none, let's go ahead and call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. All opposed say nay. Okay, motion carried. 10.5, future agenda item. Okay, any discussion? Hearing none, let's go ahead and call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. All opposed say nay. Motion carried. 11.0, summary of board requests. Dr. Volkermer will now summarize board requests.
Thank you, Madam President. The follow-ups I have from this evening's meeting board are as follows. In terms of our student achievement plan and what our next steps are, make sure to include and share our accountability measures, what we're going to do to make sure that accountability is in place. When we are reporting for our English learner students, make sure that we report in all of the 5x5s and various types of data sets, both the English, the EL only, and our RFEP students. Work on developing what we'll call a mini dashboard by evaluator, so that we can get a kind of a quick glimpse as to how the schools are faring under each evaluator of the 4 assistant superintendents who evaluate. Bring back the funding for IB at the elementary level at Holcomb Elementary School. Explore summer school options, including the proposal by Options for Youth. In our counselor work on the ongoing initiatives, make sure that it's more than a report and it really reflects a strategic approach to the work that we're doing with our counseling staff. Bring back a report on the distribution of I put $800,000 or so that were allotted to the career pathways. Also bring back information about the periodic updates and audits that we do in our charter schools, not just when they're up for renewal. And then finally, there was a request to agendize, and it appeared to be board consensus, excuse me, to agendize the district mariachi band.
Yes.
And also, I made mention earlier in the presentation in reference to the OGs and the number that's needed throughout. Whether that comes under Dr. Brown's budget or whatnot, but exploring how many more we may need.
Terrific. Thank you for that reminder.
All right, thank you. Any other? Just to make sure? Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Volkermer. Now we are at near the end. 12.0 adjournment. We will be going into closed session right after, but we will not be reporting out. So do I have a motion? Okay. Any discussion? Let's go ahead. All those in favor? Do I have to say all those in favor say aye? Do I have to do that? Okay. We're adjourning. Okay. Good evening, everyone. Next board meeting is November the 6th. Thank you so much.